This is Tragedy by the Sea, one of the most disturbing and sad photos of all time. Okay, so first glance at this photo, you just think it's a couple arguing at the beach, right? But believe it or not, this photo might have the most unsettling and disturbing backstory ever.
You somehow bagged Tom Brady. Then imagine telling Tom Brady, who's the greatest of all time, that he has to choose between you and football. You see this family? You then break up your family because you couldn't deal with him playing one more season after you dealt with it for 20 seasons, all right? And you...
I'm back. It's your boy Fittie, and today I got this video for you guys. Don't mind me being shirtless, you know, I just came from the gym and I was tired. I was like, honestly, bro, I just want to hop on, record. Kind of just don't want to waste any time, so I just did it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. Stream's gonna be fire, so make sure to tune in. If you guys like the chain, check the link down in the description. You already know what to do.
Signs that you or your friends are serial killers. Number 1, antisocial behavior. Number 2, setting things on fire. It doesn't have to be houses. Number 3, torturing animals. Number 4, having a troubled family history and substance abuse. Number 5, they're pretty smart but cannot keep a job. Do you know anyone that could be a serial killer?
Honestly, I feel like I know a lot of people that could potentially be a serial killer. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that they are, but they could potentially. I feel like we all do. If you know someone that could be a serial killer, send them this video, or at least send them this part of the video.
Some of the most random fun facts you will ever hear in your life. Armadillo shells are actually bulletproof. One time a man was hospitalized when he shot at an armadillo and the bullet ricocheted off the shell and hit him instead. There's only one letter in the entire alphabet that isn't in any US state name, and that letter is Q. There's not a single state with the letter Q in its name. 71% of the earth is covered in water, and humans can only use 0.007% of that water. 2.5% of the total water is fresh water, and only 1% of that is actually accessible. The bumblebee bat is the smallest mammal in the entire world. These things can rest on your fingertips and you might not even know because they weigh 0.05 to 0.07 ounces. Ostriches are the world's largest and heaviest living bird. It's why they can't fly, but they are built for running, and they can reach speeds of up to 43 miles per hour, and they can pretty easily coast at 30 miles per hour. The longest English word is 189,819,000 letters long. It's a protein and its nickname is titin, and it would take around 3.5 hours to say the word out loud.
And sing this little song. Run, run, run.
People who gained real-life superpowers after an accident. Jason Padgett was a party animal who hated school and got terrible grades. But one day 2 men savagely robbed and attacked Jason outside of a karaoke bar, leaving him with a severe concussion. The concussion caused him to become a mathematical genius and made him learn fractal geometry, which he had never been taught before. When Derek Amato was 39 years old, he hit his head after diving into a swimming pool and was diagnosed with a concussion and 35% hearing loss. After that, Derek began to see black and white keys in his head, and out of nowhere, he began to play the piano like an expert. Ben McMahon was in a car accident in 2015 and fell into a coma for a week. When he woke up, he could speak perfect Chinese even though he had only learned the basics as a child. Tony Ciceria was struck by lightning after making a call in a phone booth. Within a couple days, he was addicted to music, which he wasn't before. After trying the piano, he became a musical artist, composing his own music.
I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, any boxers got severe concussions or punched up in the head and they just went vegetable? I'm thinking about it like, how many of them could have really just became like a genius after getting knocked out? They're just like, oh yo, I just solved the...
Mother hid sticky notes in her daughter's sock to be saved from captivity. This 28-year-old mother and 2 kids, 7-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son, Mason Dominguez, were held captive by a man named Brandon Tusland. This all started in January 2021 when the father of the 2 kids, Eli Dominguez, passed away from pneumonia. The mother was happily married to Eli, but since his death, she began to struggle financially. That's when Eli's former friend, Brandon, offered to support her and her 2 kids. In March 2021, the mother and 2 kids moved into Brandon's home, and that's when he became controlling and abusive. He alienated her from her family, made her quit her job, and confiscated her phone. He put locks on the bedroom doorknobs, installed motion sensors, and duct taped her to the bed. She was also handcuffed when she rode in the car with him. But one day, the mother spotted a sticky notepad and a pen in his car, and that's when she began a weeks-long plan to seek help. The mother found the perfect chance to put a sticky note in her daughter's sock, and on February 22nd at 8:40 a.m., the 7-year-old girl went to school and gave the sticky note to her teacher. The note said that her mother was being held against her will and she needed help right away. School officials notified authorities and Brandon was arrested right away. But it doesn't end there. This is when things get super disturbing. Brandon kept her kids away from her most of the time, and especially when she was locked up. And she actually had not seen her 4-year-old son, Mason Dominguez, since December 11th, and she suspected he was dead. When the mother lost full contact with her son, she knew she had to find a way out to save her and her daughter. When police searched his house, they found the remains of 4-year-old Mason Dominguez in his freezer in his garage.
That's so horrible. Somebody needs to put that guy in freaking prison, man. Like, lock him away with the dogs. Like, ew.
Tastrophobia. Thalassophobia.
These toy designers messed up big time. I'm pretty sure there was a better spot to put this straw on Buzz Lightyear. Come on. And I've never seen a duck with 4 legs before. Have you? I poop glitter. But why is this even a toy? And why this designer made Harry Potter blue, I'll never understand. And this looks like a normal cute horse, right? Well, it actually has a Barbie head as the tail. I'm a sweet baby. Let's have fun together. Yeah, you don't look too sweet. And I think there's something up with this Woody doll. And I'm not sure what's going on with this baby's eye. Here are some of the rarest human mutations that actually exist. Firstly, every 1 in 1,000 people have a perfect 10 face, meaning that all of their features fit perfectly within these lines. Now, every 1 in 107 people experience something called mirror touch. It's where you feel the sensation of touch in the same or opposite body part when you see somebody else being touched. Now, 4% of people have something known as sweaty palm syndrome. I'm sure you can guess what that is. It's where your palms sweat when you're not even being active. And the rarest mutation is werewolf syndrome. This is where you have excessive hair growth all over your body, and only 50 people worldwide have this.
This is Tragedy by the Sea, one of the most disturbing and sad photos of all time. Okay, so first glance at this photo, you just think it's a couple arguing at the beach, right? But believe it or not, this photo might have the most unsettling and disturbing backstory ever. On the morning of April 2nd, 1954, Los Angeles Times photographer named John Gaunt, who was pictured in the middle of this photo, was relaxing on his front yard of his beachfront house when he heard a neighbor shout, "Something's happening on the beach." He then instinctively grabbed his camera and rushed over to see the horrified couple clutching each other on the beach. On the shore stood a young couple named Mr. and Mrs. McDonald, and their body language made John's stomach turn. He realized that someone must be lost, and he then took a photograph from 200 yards away. Only then did he learn that just moments before, the couple's 19-month-old son Michael, who had been playing in the yard, had wandered down to the beach and crawled into the violent waters while they weren't looking. Despite the back and forth efforts by the parents, there was nothing they can do but just wait. Unfortunately, later that day, the child's dead body was washed up about a mile away on the beach. And this photo, titled Tragedy by the Sea, appeared on the front page of the Times the very next day. John Gaunt then won the 1955 Pulitzer Prize Award, calling the photo poignant and profoundly moving. But he also received heavy criticism for capitalizing on the family's tragedy for his photo opportunity. But now take a look at this photo, knowing everything you do, and tell me it's not one of the saddest and most disturbing photos ever.
The darkest conspiracy theories. The Teletubbies theory. The theory says that the show is inspired by historic events that happened in a Bulgarian mental facility. Each Teletubby is inspired by a kid that was experimented on. Lola was based on a child who had facial disfigurement and had to smile all the time. Tinky Winky was based on a deaf child who was tied to a fence outside and suffered frostbite. Gypsy was inspired by a child who was constantly sick and ended up lying in his own puke. And Poe was based on a child who fell into fire, which is recognizable why his color is red.
This 14-year-old boy S8'd his 83-year-old neighbor. Viewers' discretion is strongly advised. On August 29th of 2018, 14-year-old Tyrone Harvin told his 83-year-old neighbor, Dorothy Mae Neal, that he would help her with some chores inside of her apartment. Before walking into her apartment, he made sure to grab a handful of condoms. Tyrone did help Dorothy with some chores before attacking her with a lamp. After that, Tyrone S8'd her, he fled her apartment, and he left her seriously injured on the floor and naked. Neighbors had asked police to do a welfare check on Dorothy since they hadn't seen her around for a couple of days. When officers showed up at her apartment, they noticed dried blood on her doorknob, and that's when they saw Dorothy lying naked on the floor. She was then taken to the University of Maryland Hospital Trauma Unit and unfortunately passed away that next day. When officers were at Dorothy's home, they noticed that there was several condom wrappers around her body as well as used condoms. A broken, bloodied lamp was also found by officers. Dorothy's autopsy revealed that she suffered extensive trauma to her head and genitals. There was DNA on Dorothy's body and in those condoms, and that DNA matched up to Tyrone. Despite all of the evidence, Tyrone's mom stood by his side and truly believed that he would never do something like this. On June 29th of 2022, Tyrone was convicted on first-degree murder, first-degree SA, and use of a deadly weapon. Tyrone was also sentenced to life in prison.
I know when you're younger than 18, like, you can't really get convicted as an adult. But honestly, that kid deserved life in prison. Like, what are you doing? A grandma, bro? 83 years old and you're 14? Like, what?
Oh, no. No, 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 silly. To dry it. No, no, no. But it exploded. And they were both found dead.
Here's some random things we all did as kids. Who remembers pouring glue all over their hand and peeling it off? How satisfying was that? And we definitely have all gotten our fingers stuck in one of these at least one time. Who remembers feeling like the coolest kid with a pencil this small? And we all ran our fingers along these grooves at school. Admit it, we all stabbed our eraser with our pencil like this. And we definitely all unraveled the design of these pencils. And we all dove to the bottom of the pool to pick up these rings. Who remembers using these blocks in school? And we've definitely all tried pushing down all of the colors at one time.
AI art is not something that's terribly new, but have you heard about the woman that is haunting AI pictures? This is the face, and nobody can explain why she keeps showing up in AI images. If you look at her, she's not really general. I mean, there are specific characteristics here that are consistent. Again, nobody knows which prompts are generating this woman. Nobody knows why her face continues to appear in different models. So this has opened up one of my favorite questions about the idea that AI pictures can be haunted. And don't forget, if things like this are of interest to you, make sure to go check out the podcast.
Generals for real need to study how the coyote managed to finesse its two biggest enemies, and all they had to do was wait and play the long game. So once upon a time, humanity saw this canyon puppy and decided it was on site ever since. America started murking coyotes like they were made out of oil. Mark Twain hated him so much, he wrote a 3-page MLA format essay on why coyotes deserve nothing. If you thought Kendrick hated Drake, that is nothing on the abhorrence this man had for a travel-sized wolf. So much that it literally inspired a pain magnet of a Looney Tune. Now here's the first problem of beefing with coyotes. Coyotes are basically canine cockroaches. The harder you try to murk them, the harder they work to birth them. Apparently they even have this roll call where a female will call out and all the coyotes in an area will answer, and if she doesn't hear a lot of yotes back, it'll actually trigger her body to make more pups. Now op number 2, wolves don't mess with coyotes at all, like to a homicidal level, to the point where wolves will hard bully coyotes in the same area. Now here's where the get back happened. While we were out here spam killing coyotes, we were also at war with wolves, except getting generationally stepped on by wolves made coyotes that much more adaptable. So while the big bad wolf was getting smoked, coyotes were out here Euro-stepping extinction. And when wolves got packed up in the US, for coyotes it was free real estate. So not only did we accidentally become coyote allies, the wolf dating pool got so low, eventually they started doing the unspeakable with the ops to survive, leading to the coy wolf. It's exactly what it sounds like. Remember, wolves hate coyotes more than anything. So just like that, coyotes managed to outcompete their biggest enemy and also colonize their bloodline. And with coyotes found in every state that isn't Hawaii, they basically humbled humanity too. And that's why I rock with them. They're alive out of spite, and I respect that.
Man, I hope all that salmon I've been eating don't have tapeworms. Bro, you're always looking at that like, what the? That doesn't even look real, bro. General question, so for all my people out there that like eating fish, do y'all think that there's tapeworms in the salmon that we eat? There's no way, right? Because we cook our food. Like, there's no way. Or am I bugging?
Expected emergency alert systems in different countries. Firstly, if you don't know, countries have different emergency alert systems. The one I'm used to is America's that sounds like this. But on the other hand, we have the country of Barbados, which honestly sounds like club music. Next is Japan, which to me isn't that scary and just sounds like a notification. Now, one that I would genuinely be terrified by is Ireland's. Just imagine waking up to this. Finally, you know, I'm kind of glad that America's emergency alarm isn't too scary because Denmark is on another level.
Adult jokes in kids' cartoons you probably didn't notice.
Hey, Judy! Wanna pollinate with a real bug? Oh, lady, come to Papa. Yeah.
So, being a ladybug automatically makes me a girl. Is that it, flyboy? Huh?
Yikes! She's a guy!
Knowledge you wish you didn't know, Gandhi was racist and sexist. He kept a bunch of underage girls with him all the time. He would bathe with them, get full body massages from them, and sleep naked with them in order to test himself. He also thought women were responsible for their own sexual assaults and was totally cool with fathers killing their own daughters after they had been sexually assaulted for family honor.
Yeah, that's the shit they don't tell you in school. Gandhi, bro, I thought you was all loving, caring, and amazing. What the hell?
Lauren was shot 15 times, and 8 of those shots were fatal. Emergency personnel arrived at the scene as well as local neighbors so that they could assist. At that point, no one had told Lauren's parents that she had been shot. Lauren's mom, Bianca, was unaware of what was going on and was just doing what she normally did, waiting at home for Lauren to arrive. But then, one of her friends pulled up to her house asking if Lauren was home yet. Her mom was confused about this question and responded and said, "No, why?" And the friend, in a panic, said, "Kids are down," and then left. So her mom, Bianca, didn't hesitate or even let her dad, Vern, know what she was doing, and she just booked it out the front door to make sure that it wasn't her child that was, quote, down. Lauren's dad, Vern, could tell that something was wrong because Bianca wasn't the kind of person to just jump up, flee the house without saying anything or indicating what was wrong. So he knew something was up. So he immediately hopped in his truck and he followed her. There were tons of police cars, ambulances, people, and now crime scene tape blocking the area off. So Bianca was just looking around in a complete panic, trying to see if Lauren was there while simultaneously trying to assess the situation and come to terms with what was going on, and that is when she laid eyes on Lauren. In that moment, her worst fears realized and her worst nightmares come true, seeing her daughter on the ground appearing to have been shot.
Okay, this is getting creepy. We're now finding out that a doomsday fish washed up dead in San Diego just 2 days before California was rattled by that 4.6
6 magnitude earthquake. I mean, come on. Now for anyone that doesn't know, we've spoken about this before, but according to Japanese mythology, the oarfish, which is very rarely seen by humans, because they swim at depths of roughly 200 to 1,000 meters, well, is said to intentionally rise to the surface and beach themselves ahead of an impending earthquake. Hence the name. And I made a video earlier this year when one was spotted before the Japan earthquake, and now again, for this one. So, Now remember, there is no scientific evidence that has proven a correlation between them washing up and earthquakes. So as of right now, all we can say is just it's a freaky coincidence.
Scariest haunted attractions in the world, part 2. Today we're going to be talking about the 17th door. This attraction is so much different than the rest because actors are allowed to touch you. There's also a slight possibility that you'll get your hair cut here, which makes things like 100 times worse. Put you through various levels and rooms that just kind of keep getting worse. The room that you're seeing here actually turns and spins while you're in it. It's really trippy, especially if you don't know it's coming. You can watch a walkthrough of this place online. A lot of commenters were saying that this doesn't do the place justice. Basically, they were holding back a little for the people recording, supposedly. Oh yeah, and here's their lovely little barber shop. I wouldn't go here, but let me know if you would.
I hope when she says haircut there, she doesn't mean like you just walk in and they're just like, ha, loser, snip, snip. I'd be so mad. I know they probably have contracts and agreements that you have to sign before you go in, but if the agreement says allowed to cut hair at any time, hell no, I'm not doing that. You know how much money I pay to get these done, bro? You think I wanted some random to just cut my shit? I'd be tight.
Beetlejuice is not going to try to marry Jenna Ortega's character in the sequel. I feel like the trailers make it abundantly clear that he's trying to get back with Lydia again. First thing he does when he sees her is he grabs her and he says, I'm gonna make you so happy. He even has a picture of Lydia on his desk and then he says, now's my chance. Trailer kind of implies that Lydia's husband dies at the beginning of the movie, so maybe the movie is about Beetlejuice trying to be a father to Jenna Ortega's character. He puts down the newspaper and it says obituary, so he probably found out someone died and he thought, now is my time. Let me have another chance with Lydia. You can even see in the trailer that he's at the altar with Lydia. You can also see a wedding cake in the chapel and you see that this is Lydia with the red dress from the first movie. Like the first wedding outfit is on the wedding cake. And we even see her in a chapel in the red dress. Cause I know that Jenna Ortega is wearing a white dress here, but if she was marrying Beetlejuice, it would be this white dress. Also, let's be honest, like, it's 2024. I think they realized that they kind of made him look like a creep in the old movie and that society doesn't like that anymore, or they're not okay with that. And they acknowledge that in the musical. There's a whole song about how Lydia's marrying a creepy old guy and she's an underage bride. Also, this is a fan-made photo. But I know they added this character, I think her name's Dolores, that's gonna be Beetlejuice's wife. I can't wait for this movie though. Let me know your thoughts and follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more. It really helps when you interact.
Did Will Smith really mean to tell us?
Y'all, we out here on vacation in the Bahamas. Another beautiful day. Check it out, check it out. Boom. I want to talk to y'all for a minute about the power of perception. You see, there's a lot that goes in to being a hot social media content provider. For instance, y'all think I got time to go on vacation? No. I got social to do. Come on, man, this is blue screen. In fact, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I haven't looked like this good in years. I've been totally computer generated since like the 90s. You know what? This ain't even real blue screen. It's 2019, y'all. Nothing's real.
So tell me, do you believe, was Disney trying to tell us something? Crazy, right? Some things are just an optical illusion, right? Well, is this an optical illusion? Look at that and tell me you don't know what that is. Go ahead and tell me that confidently and mean it, because you know darn well what that is. You can see it. No, that's not a carving. That's a petrified animal from the days of old.
Do you see this?
Yes.
Do you see this?
Yep.
It's freaking nature, and it's freaking awesome.
Yes, it is. And I don't think science can properly explain how these animals were petrified so quickly to where they were able to preserve their form through all these years. And you know, that really got me thinking. There's plenty of statues on this earth that are thousands of years old Now, what if they were petrified beings? Now, I know, it's just a thought. And yeah, I can't wait for the Mount Rushmore jokes. And you can joke all you want, but I promise you truth is stranger than fiction.
The actor that plays Art the Clown vomited from how gross Terrifier 3 is about to be. In fact, there were a lot of really big production companies that wanted to be involved in making Terrifier 3. The creator ended up turning it down because he didn't want to have less gore and tone down certain scenes. To stick it to these companies, he said, we're gonna make it even worse. He even said that they're gonna make the bedroom scene from the last movie look like a little kid thing. Like, that is how intense this movie is going to be. That is the level that we're about to be on. It's supposedly an unwritten rule that you're not supposed to do anything to kids. Like when bad things happened to Georgie and it was like such a like game changer, and so many people were like really upset that they would kid in a film. And I don't know about you, but I'm thinking of so many movies where they don't follow that rule. But they are not about to hold back. I don't understand how they can do like the bedroom scene and then be able to put that in the movie theater. The scene took 3 years to make, and it was so intense that people were either vomiting or walking out of the theater. But it was insane. It was so like an awakening. Terrifier the franchise is just known for upsetting the mainstream and pushing boundaries in horror, which I love. But one thing is certain, I absolutely cannot wait for this film.
I actually remember watching Terrifier 2, and it was kind of gory, but in my opinion, it wasn't that bad. It was not that bad.
Year-old Melissa Chavez and how they tried to cover up her murder with arson. Firefighters discovered that she was actually stabbed to death before the fire even started, and whoever had done this had tried to cover up the murder with arson. Melissa was the only person inside the house during the fire, so where was everyone else? Well, police were able to get surveillance footage from a neighbor, and it captured Luis, Melissa's stepfather, and her half-brother leaving the home at around 10:30 in the morning. Then, shortly after, at around 11:15 in the morning, you can see the mother, Mirta, leaving the home. Then, firefighters and police were called at around 11:21 in the morning. So, what happened in those 6 minutes? So, police went to go speak to Mirta and Luis about this, and they defended themselves. They did interviews where they were crying, saying that they couldn't believe that this had happened and that they had nothing to do with this, and that they honestly thought a stranger had done this. Someone was watching the house and waited for everyone to leave, and when they finally saw Mirta leaving, that's when they decided to go inside the house, kill Melissa, and then set the house into flames. They were asking for justice, and they wanted whoever had done this to be caught and punished. Police asked Luis, where did you and your son go at 10:30 in the morning? And Luis says that he took his son to his school to get vaccinated. Then they asked Mirta, where did you go at 11:15 in the morning? And she says that she went to the dentist. That morning, she asked Melissa, can you go to the dentist with me? And that Melissa said no, that she wanted to stay home because she was going to go stop by a friend's house later that day to give her a birthday present. So Mirta decided to go to the dentist by herself. Mirta says that she truly believes that when she walked into Melissa's room to ask her if she wanted to go to the dentist, that the killer was inside the room hiding. However, police didn't really believe this. Forensics determined that the fire had started 30 minutes before Mirta even left the house, which means that Mirta was literally inside the home when the fire started. Autopsy was also returned, and it determined that Melissa had a blow to the head and that she had 11 stab wounds. The pathologist says that Melissa could have been saved. You know, if police were called in that moment, they probably could have saved her. However, whoever killed Melissa left her dying there for over an hour before the house was lit on fire. Again, if Melissa was stabbed over an hour before the fire even started, that means that Mirta was still inside the house. How did Mirta not hear someone come inside the house, go upstairs, brutally attack her daughter, and then start lighting the house on fire? Besides revealing that she had 11 stab wounds and a blow to the head, it was also revealed that Melissa was essayed just 6 hours before her death. This poor 12-year-old girl went through so much before she was killed. With all this evidence, police arrested Mirta and they charged her with parricide and arson. And they also arrested Melissa's stepfather, Luis, for repeated R-wording and essaying Melissa. And Mirta was sentenced to 33 years in prison, while Luis was only sentenced to 10 years. The motive as to why people believe that Mirta did this was out of jealousy for her daughter. Allegedly, she was jealous that her husband, Luis, was giving Melissa more attention than to her. Now, while most people do believe that Mirta did do this, there are some people that have doubt. And the reason for this is because the day of Melissa's death, a neighbor saw a man walking on the roof near the family's house wearing overalls and a gas mask. However, this man has never been found, but a lot of people find it suspicious. You know, what are the odds that a man was wearing a gas mask near the house before it was lit on fire? So some people think that maybe this guy did it, or others believe, you know, maybe Mirta hired this guy to do it. What happened to Melissa just breaks my heart. She was only 12 years old, and, you know, she tried to ask for help and she reported the abuse, but nothing was done about it. It's unfortunate that she was sent back to live in this home where she continued to get abused abused, and, she was ultimately murdered.
This is the saddest villain backstory.
Which one?
His original name was Waylon Jones. When he was born, he had a rare medical condition where his body was covered in scales. He was constantly bullied and rejected by others. He met a girl named Emma, and they quickly became best friends. But it didn't last long. A child went missing in their town. They went to a nearby swamp and found him. Suddenly, a crocodile jumped out and attacked them, and Emma died in Waylon's arms. Everyone blamed him for the death of his only friend. This caused him to lose his humanity, taking on a new persona called Killer Croc.
What was Iraq really hiding? Wait a second. If you comment Thai, you will unlock a TikTok secret emoji. There exists a theory that the United States remained in Iraq for over 10 years after its liberation. Not for oil, but for something far more powerful. In the 1920s, a British explorer discovered what was rumored to be the world's oldest known Stargate, located at the site now known as the Great Ziggurat. Breaking news. Click on share, then on WhatsApp, and the second person that appears is your crush. In the 1980s, Saddam Hussein fortified the ancient complex to prevent explorers from seeing what was hidden there, or so the government claimed. Additionally, strange ancient technologies have been spotted outside the Great Ziggurat. Rumors suggest that they originate from an ancient civilization that lives on the hidden planet Nibiru, accessed through the Stargate. Hold on. No person in the comments will have 0 likes. Recently, many individuals have come forward claiming to have participated in classified programs in Iraq, where Stargate technology was used, and many people are asking questions.
Actually reminded me of a TikTok I saw yesterday that there was a UFO spotted in Ibiza. I might actually put it in. Actually, I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna show y'all that video.
Mira, mira, mira. Oh my God.
Yeah, y'all see how fast that shit moved? I was like, yo, it could, like, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking like maybe it is fake, maybe it's not, but I'm on the fence. What do you think? Put your thoughts in the comments.
Dark side of YouTube you've never seen. A Russian YouTuber back in 2015 created a series of videos where he mutated chicken eggs' DNA. In his last video, a mutated creature spit on his hand. He then killed it with a book and was never seen again.
I think the first time I saw that, I remember this man, I think, threw a Bible on it. I'm like, oh, the Bible. I don't know. He said a book, but I'm pretty sure it was the Bible. It was. I don't know. That was interesting times. That video came back out like over 5 to 10 years ago.
Imagine being a washed up retired supermodel, but you still think you the shit. You're completely washed up and you're not even that fine, right? Then you somehow bag Tom Brady. Then imagine telling Tom Brady, who's the greatest of all time, that he has to choose between you and football. You see this family? You then break up your family because you couldn't deal with him playing one more season after you dealt with it for 20 seasons, all right? And you would think breaking up your family for your own personal selfish happiness would be enough. But no. You then turn around and date someone close to your husband, the former family personal trainer or whatever the hell he was. Because Lord knows you couldn't go find you a man who's not within the circle. You got to keep things messy. You got to keep things really awkward for your children. But then, oh, come as a bitch. He breaks up with you because he can't deal with this drama, or possibly he broke up with you because you're 44 with 2 kids. My boy Tom, he coolin', doing goat things. Now that it's time to officially finalize this divorce, you know, she wants half the property, right? Turns out, Tom Brady don't have no property. And y'all remember when I made this video? Imagine being married to one of the most famous and richest football players in the world. Then he gets accused of rape. And instead of waiting for him to be cleared, you like, yo, this is the opportunity I've been waiting on. So you file for divorce. Now, obviously, sis is finna get paid. Then you find out during the divorce proceedings that all of his money and everything is in his mama name. Not on
darkest episodes in kids' cartoons. In an episode of Care Bears, the bears and their cousins find themselves in a place called Drab City, where color has vanished and people who live there don't seem to care about anything. This was caused by a mysterious force that took everyone's color and feelings away. And slowly, it started going after the bears, and they eventually gave in until help arrived. The whole episode was about mental health, and it came off as way too heavy for a kid's show. Next, in The Fairly Odd Parents, Timmy gets upset for not being appreciated for the good deeds he's done and wishes he was never born. He's then transported to an alternate universe where it shows that everyone's lives are better without him. And to add insult to injury, Timmy gets sent to what's basically the pits of hell. And when Timmy gets a hold of Jorgen's wand, he takes time to think if wishing himself to exist is worth making everyone's lives miserable. It's a pretty dark and messed up plot. And lastly, this Thomas and Friends episode starts as per usual, with Thomas giving a helping hand. Then, it's not long after that a character named Stepney ends up getting lost in a scrapyard, getting lost in a fog and almost getting scrapped in the process. This was meant to warn kids to be careful while on their journeys, or you may not live to tell your story.
Ghost stories from around the world. Now this is hands down my most requested video. Mexico, La Llorona. Once there was a woman named Maria who married a rich man and had 2 children. But eventually her marriage hit a rough patch and her husband started spending less and less time with her and the kids. Until finally Maria caught him cheating. Absolutely enraged at this, she ends up drowning her 2 children. She immediately regrets it and tried to save them, but it was too late. Then she stopped eating and grew thinner and thinner until she resembled a skeleton. Eventually she finally passed away by the same river that she drowned her children, still crying and mourning over them. So after she died, she went to heaven but was denied entry. She was banished to purgatory on earth until she could find her lost sons. And that's how she became La Llorona, which also translates to the weeping woman. She floats over bodies of water in a long white funeral gown. She also kidnaps children and attacks cheating husbands.
So the husband cheats on you and you don't decide to hurt the husband. You hurt your own kids. Yo, that part baffled me. I was like, what is she talking about, bro? It's like, dude, the husband was the one that did it. Why are you hurting the kids? Like, what do the kids have to do with it? And now she just go around haunting kids.
Some conspiracy theories that I think have passed the level of theory and are true. Women's clothing is designed with little to no pockets for the sole purpose of selling more purses. High-end art is just a scheme to launder money and avoid taxes. Like this one here sold for $43 million. This one sold for $46 million. This one was $84 million. Someone actually paid $87 million for this. This has got to contribute to inflation in some way. Leaks that happen in the entertainment industry, like with movies, TV shows, video games, are done on purpose to gauge interest and get opinions before an official announcement. That little bit of dust that comes off the end of tissues when you pull them out of the box is specifically designed to get you to sneeze, that way you need more tissues. The government orchestrates their own conspiracy theories to get us distracted from actual problems.
That's scary, but the one where she talked about people were paying like $80 to $100 million for a painting, in my opinion, bro, I personally feel like you can make money off anything nowadays. Like, people make money off of anything. Like, as long as you could just sell, you could literally become a millionaire within a year if you really know what you're doing. I'm not gonna lie. Sadly, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm not a millionaire. At least not yet.
Some trees can actually grow inside of your lungs. In Russia, doctors performed surgery on a man named Artyom Sidorkin, suspecting that he had a cancerous tumor in his lungs. Instead of a tumor, though, they found a 5-centimeter fir tree branch inside of his lung. Doctors believe that Sidorkin accidentally swallowed a fir tree bud, which later grew into a branch. The probability of dying on your birthday is higher than any other day. There is actually a 14% chance chance of dying on your birthday than any other day. This is a shocking phenomena called the birthday effect, which may be due to extra stress, drinking more, or people engaging in risky behaviors on their birthdays. A devil's chair exists in many cemeteries. In various cemeteries around the world, there are stone chairs called devil's chairs. These chairs were often used by mourners to sit and grieve, but legends and superstitions have given them a sinister reputation. Some stories claim that if you sit in one at midnight, the devil himself will appear. You are more likely to be bitten by someone in New York City than you are to be bitten by a shark. There could be someone secretly living in your wall or attic without you even knowing it. It's called frogging, and people say that it's becoming more and more common. So if you hear strange noises, notice things missing or moved, or your box of Frosted Flakes cereal is all of a sudden empty, there could be a frogger living in your home.
I feel like if you're a frogger, if you're gonna steal my food, at least don't put it back. Like, don't eat my cereal and then have the box halfway gone. And then boom. I'm gonna be like, yo, who the I also feel like the death on your birthday one makes sense because I was thinking about two artists that died on their birth week. I know it's not their birthday, but birth week. One being Folio. He recently died in June. The other one being Juice WRLD. They both died on their birth week, not necessarily on their birthday, but it's straightly because of partying. Like, they're going out to party. One leaked their location, got shot up. The other one did too much drugs. Like, it's literally always about what they're doing on their birthday. That's why I feel like there's a 14% chance higher that you might die on your birthday, because half of these people on their birthday are literally just partying like crazy, like partying basically to die. It's funny.
Here's what some of the most famous monsters actually are. The chupacabra. The goat-griefing livestock leech believed to be first seen in Puerto Rico was more than likely a dog with a severe case of mange, and that's when mites burrow into the skin and basically cause parasitic alopecia. Bigfoot, different animals, same beast, or whatever it was, Kobe said. Anyway, it was probably a mangy bear. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. What the hell mange does? Coke Bear done graduated to meth. And I don't mean numbers, the Loch Ness Monster. There have been many theories, but what's most likely was probably just an escaped circus elephant with trunks out like Dragon Ball. For centuries, there have been stories of killer Cyclops, a one-eyed op to humanity. Whole time, someone probably just found an expired elephant skull in an Olympic long jump to a conclusion. And last, almost every sea monster story you've ever heard was probably just some whale freeing his willy. That's exactly what you think it is, the more you know.
Didn't they say the Loch Ness Monster one was like a log? Like just a log? And then someone like mistaked it or something like that?
That's how Area 51 became the center for alien conspiracy theories. In 1989, a man named Bob Lazar claimed that he had worked at a facility near Area 51 known as S4. According to Lazar, the facility was being used to reverse engineer alien technology recovered from crashed UFOs. Lazar's claims were highly controversial, and many people dismissed him as a hoaxer. However, his story only served to fuel the already existing rumors of alien activity at Area 51. Since then, countless conspiracy theories have emerged about what's really going on at Area 51. Some people believe that the government is hiding evidence of extraterrestrial life, while others think that the base is being used to develop top-secret weapons and technology.
Like you. That's what Mordecai said. Take that back, Rigby. And they started fighting. And it didn't take long for them to bump into a microwave which took them up into space. And while in space, the argument still continued. You're over here turning on me, Mordecai, but I'm your bro. I'm just looking out for you. That's what Mordecai said. I don't care. I've been trying to get with Margaret for years. And yet every time she turns me down. And next thing you know, Mordecai pushes Rigby off, killing Rigby. That's when Mordecai says, wait, no! But the damage was already done, and Rigby's funeral went down the following week. After that day, Mordecai got so depressed, and ended up killing himself later that day by jumping off a cliff. Mordecai killed his best friend, and he disintegrated into the abyss, all because he was a simp.
Yo, homie really said that Mordecai ended his own life. Wow. Now, Regular Show, if you ever watch Regular Show, put it down in the comments. But if you have watched Regular Show, you know Regular Show is the complete opposite of what the title says. It's definitely never a regular show. Like, it's always just some crazy shit.
Animals who eat humans. Komodo dragon. Piranhas. Crocodiles. Jaguars, African drive rat, bear, lion, catfish, wolf, tiger, cheetah, hyenas, shark, dog, polar bear.
Man, pretty much every freaking animal. Pretty much. I didn't even know catfish eats human. How the frick do catfish eat human? How the hell do you let a catfish eat you?
This is part 2 of the crime scene photos that were leaked from the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, revolving around the murder of her mom, Dee Dee. This is another photo that was taken inside the house. You can see that the kitchen is absolutely trashed. This is inside their living room. Again, literally trash everywhere. This next one, please, if you're squeamish, look away. Okay, I cropped the photo, but basically her mom was found in this pink bed sheet. I'm covering a lot of, you know. She was found laying on her stomach with stab wounds all over her body and a huge gash mark on her neck. Again, those photos are literally online where you see everything. I cropped this one again, but this is the crime scene bit. This half, it was just all blood and a wrapped body. I know a lot of you are really curious and you want to see these photos, but they are very dark and gruesome. Even photos of Dee Dee nude from the waist down. It was a very dark and gruesome murder.
Yeah, I actually remember watching the I think Hulu had like a show about it. Yeah, it was crazy.
Games you should never play. Part 24. Blue Baby, Baby Blue. Begin at night. Go into a bathroom and turn off all the lights. Then lock the door behind you and face the mirror. As you're looking into the mirror, position your arms as though you're cradling a baby. While doing this, chant the phrase Blue Baby, Baby Blue 13 times. As you do this, you'll feel the weight in your arms begin to grow, and at some point you'll start to feel scratching on your arms. Once you feel the scratching, immediately drop the baby in the toilet, flush it, unlock the door, and leave. If you're alive, you won, but there are 2 possible losing conditions. The lesser of 2 being the scratching in your arms becoming unbearable, or the second one being a woman appearing in the mirror. She will demand her baby back and probably kill you.
Alright guys, running it right now. Baby, hell no, I'm not doing that, you're bugging.
These are scary cartoon truths that would terrify you, part 12. Okay, so Talking Angela started as a mobile phone app for a lot of children. Angela is a white cat with blue eyes who has conversations with you and could answer any question you ask. But recently, Talking Angela turned into an app to spy on young children. It is said the app was taken over by a creepy man or a very creepy group. It's said that if you're over 18, nothing happens, but if you're younger than that, the cat will then start asking you very weird questions, like where do you live, what is your name, and what are your parents' names. The creepy man or group are able to take pictures of you through your own phone. Also, if you zoom in on Angela's eye, you can see a man watching you. And if that's not scary enough, a young boy named Eli went missing shortly after downloading the app, and he was never found.
Don't kids just lie about their age on those apps nowadays? Like, I feel like when I was a kid, I was lying about my age on everything. YouTube, the platform I'm literally recording on right now. Everything. I was just lying. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm like 50.
Every time I go to chase it, it runs. I don't think it's a good idea I chase it anymore. You might think I'm playing with him. Every time. Alright, I see him, but I'm not going to act like I see him. I see him right there ducking. Oh, what the hell is wrong with his head? Why does he look like that? Oh, I'm going to try to zoom. Oh my god, why does he look like that?
All of the Rugrats are a part of Angelica's imagination. They aren't real. None of them? Chucky died in the same accident that his mom died. And that's why his dad is always so nervous and freaking out, because he has to deal with it. What about Tommy? Well, Tommy was a stillborn. And that's why Stu goes down into the basement late at night, making toys for the son he wish he had. That's why he's always depressed.
What are you
doing, Tilly?
Making chocolate pudding.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Why on earth are you making chocolate pudding?
Because I've lost control of my life.
And the twins ended up being a miscarriage. It was early in the pregnancy, so Angelica didn't know if it was going to be a boy or a girl, so she just imagined both.
What about Susie?
Susie is real and going along with all of Angelica's crazy imaginations because it's her only friend. She tries to make her happy. But the one baby that is real is Dill. Dill goes against Angelica's crazy imagination and doesn't do what she expects. And that's why Angelica freaks out on Dill all the time and gets so upset.
What the fuck? Too scared to open my door.
Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. I told you. Come here.
The reason I had to move out of my flat. I was home alone.
Gabe? Gabe? It's your mom. You should come out. You've been in there for so long. Gabe? Come out. Gabe? Gabe, it's your mother. You should come out.
Then what's your name then?
This teenager became concerned for her ex and tried to help him. Little did she know she was about to be brutally killed. Lauren Astley was 18 years old from Wayland, Massachusetts. She began dating Nathaniel Fujita when the pair were in high school together. Nathaniel was a popular football player. The pair were described as being quite on and off. On the 1st of April 2011, she decided to end the relationship with Nathaniel. However, it did not go down very well at all, and his friends reported that he became depressed and withdrawn. He stopped doing things he used to enjoy doing, and he just didn't seem to care about life anymore. In summer 2011, the pair attended the same graduation party. It was reported that at the party, Nathaniel got quite jealous of when Lauren was talking to other boys. Nathaniel got quite drunk, and Lauren's mum was actually at the party, and Lauren ran up to her crying. She said that Nathaniel wouldn't leave her alone and was harassing her. Now, Nathaniel got so angry at this party that he punched the tent that everybody was in and caused it to collapse. He was then asked to leave the party. It was reported that Nathaniel started drinking quite heavily and becoming even more depressed. His mum actually got so worried about him that she reached out to Lauren. She asked Lauren if she could help and maybe speak to him, and Lauren agreed because she was concerned. Lauren agreed to chat to him and meet him at his house on the 3rd of July 2011. Tragically, she had no idea she would not leave the house alive. She texted him stating "here" and entered the house at approximately 7:05 p.m. Nathaniel lured her into the garage, slit her throat and strangled her with a bungee cord. He then drove her car to Town Beach and disposed of the keys down a drain. After running home, he put her body in his car and dumped her in a secluded area nearby. Obviously, Lauren's family got really concerned when she didn't get home. Nathaniel, as obviously the last person she was meeting up with, was reported as a suspect. Police found bloodstains in his garage and a big bag full of clothes soaked in blood. Lauren's body was found not long after. Nathaniel's defense in court stated that he was suffering a massive depressive episode and therefore should not be held criminally responsible. However, luckily he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison.
The most painful part about that whole thing, in my opinion, was the fact that the mom actually called upon the girl to see if she could help, and she ended up losing her life. I feel bad because I feel like the mom thinks she probably paid a big part in that. That man really crashed out. Like, Like, I know some females watch my videos. You guys got to be careful playing with these guys' emotions, bro, because a male emotion is, we don't feel emotions. We feel certain emotions stronger than females. Like, for example, males feel frustrated and anger way harder than a woman could ever feel frustrated and angry. And that's why there's guys like that just end up just doing stuff like that. It's a little bit sad, but it is what it is, man.
People are calling this case the Incest House of Horrors. This case comes with just about the biggest trigger warning for the most horrific things you could hear. It was October 2023 in the quiet Polish village called Koniki. An arrest was about to happen which would shake the small community. The true horrors of what had been going on under everyone's noses were absolutely chilling. Piotr Girasik was 54 years old. He and his wife Hannah had had a staggering 12 children together. Hannah had passed away 15 years prior, leaving Piotr to look after the children on his own. Now, the house that he lived in was far from ideal for such a huge family. Locals were also often concerned about hearing cries and screaming from inside the home. They knew Piotr had a close relationship with his 20-year-old daughter, Paulina, but they had no idea just how disturbing things were getting inside the home. That was until local workers at a cake shop nearby tipped off social services. They had serious concerns about what was going on in the property, and they were right to be worried. When officers arrived at the home, they could smell something absolutely potent. Upon closer inspection of the property, they found decomposing dead babies in the basement. 2 of the tiny bodies were wrapped in plastic bags and one was just lying on the floor. Now, at the time of the discovery, Piotr wasn't actually living in this house with all 12 of his children. Some had escaped. He was living in the house with his daughter Paulina and his disabled son Damien. It would later be revealed that sometimes Damien was seen sat outside the house crying. He told officers that his dad would have S with his sister, so the dad's daughter, and regularly chase Damien out the house and beat him when he wanted to do this. Damien was abused and was given little more than cold rice to live off. Horrifically, police discovered that the deceased babies in the basement were actually the product of incest. The 3 babies found in the cellar were believed to have been killed just after they were born. Frustratingly, Piotr had actually been on the radar of police. He'd been investigated 5 times over allegations of incest. He was arrested finally by police, and his daughter Paulina was also arrested. Thankfully, many of Piotr's children had managed to flee, and his one daughter, Kasia, referred to him as a monster. He's now facing charges of murder, incest, and R.
Yeah, nah, that guy for sure was just a complete weirdo. Honestly, I don't even condone that. I'm thinking about cutting that part of the video, honestly. Like, what is it? Like, that's disgusting, bro. It's absolutely disgusting. Hopefully that guy burns.
Kanye West has a problem, a very serious problem with addiction, according to and we should say the person who is saying this is the definition of disgruntled ex-employee, but his former chief of staff, Milo Yiannopoulos, says that Kanye is addicted to nitrous and that he has been using this nitrous gas and that he's getting it from different places. It's not, at least the way Milo is describing it, it's not unlike what we learned about Michael Jackson getting doctor shopping, essentially.
Yeah, and the only difference is, and I'm not saying it's right, Michael Jackson was getting propofol because he was an insomniac.
Right.
And this does not seem to be curing anything.
It's more about the rush, the high that you get from using nitrous gas. But, you know, Milo and Kanye have had a long and controversial relationship. Milo recently quit his staff, but has had a lot of things to say about what happened while he was working with Kanye. Now, these are, again, his claims. We don't know that we haven't seen any proof that this is actually happening, but he is making this claim, and
this kind of aligns with an interview that Kanye did with Candace Owens back in 2022, because if the issue is addiction, she was talking about Kanye's propensity for Hennessy and how Hennessy somehow made him anti-Semitic or brought the anti-Semitism out, and that there was some connection. This sounds bizarre, but welcome to Kanye West's world. This is what happened.
I definitely was drinking when I put up the DEF CON treat. I had, who's I want to say alcohol I had inside me, but I don't know, Hennessy.
What the heck?
I don't. As usual, it's hard to. It seems like he's saying one thing, but then he says the opposite. So which is true? I don't know. But that also played more like a conspiracy theory because he was blaming Hennessy is owned by LVMH, and so he's blaming the head of LVMH.
Yet he's saying, wait a minute, but he's saying that the Hennessy brought out the truth.
Right.
I mean, he said that
but
at one
point. But
point.
if you say that it can, he said it can bring out the truth, but it's also people will discredit you and say, oh, you're drunk.
I
don't get it.
I got to say something. That this guy went on this abhorrent anti-Semitic rant. He's smiling when he's talking about it here, acknowledging it, and it's like an etch-a-sketch in this country. Nobody even talks about this anymore. Now we're talking about Kanye's wife, and we're guilty of that too. We're talking about the fact that she walks around almost naked, and nobody's mentioned. I mean, if this were any other group that anybody did this to, the way he has spoken, they would be, I mean, we're not going to be talking about their wives going into the Cheesecake Factory, but we can with Jews. I mean, I'm sorry, but as a Jew, this really offends me.
But you understand that it's, I get why you feel that way, but Kanye has, no matter what he has said, it seems like it's always, that you're right, there's an etch-a-sketch with whatever he says, and it's always been that way with him for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, is it Kanye or is it the fact that it's easy to be anti-Semitic in America these days?
Jill from Utah. This is becoming an all too familiar story with famous celebrities having access to endless prescription drugs. And because the celebrities will pay the doctors so much money, it's not going to stop soon. I wonder if this could explain Kanye's erratic behavior. I also think Dr. Conley's response does not sound like a denial, but more like, it's not what you think response.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know that he's getting this from doctors only.
Yeah, well, there's a dentist, according to Milo, there's a dentist.
Right.
By the way, we reached out to the dentist. He completely denies this. I just don't know what Milo's point is in bringing this up.
Well, sour grapes. That he's pissed at.
So he just wants to...
He wants to torch him because he's pissed at him. I mean, Kanye does not end relationships well.
Yeah.
He does not end relationships well.
Yeah, man, they got that boy Kanye messed up. I don't know. I like the comparison they did between Michael Jackson and Kanye, like how Michael Jackson actually had a problem. He was an insomniac, basically meaning he couldn't fall asleep on his own. Or he had difficulties falling asleep on his own. So they basically gave him, I forgot what the drug was called, but it was a certain type of drug that ended up giving him a heart attack, and then he ended up dying. R.I.P. Michael Jackson, the GOAT. But with Kanye, he's strictly just doing this for pleasure. Like, there is no, I mean, I guess he has quote-unquote depression or anxiety. I don't know if it's even quote-unquote. Like, he has bipolar disorder, whatever the hell, whatever it is. I think nitrous is the best thing to do because I'm pretty sure that thing just deletes brain cells. Like a delete button on a keyboard, like if you just went into your brain and you could just keep clicking delete, that's pretty much what it's doing. It's just deleting stuff. And not only that, it messes with your whole body. Pretty sure it shuts down organs. It deletes brain cells, which is like the most important thing. It's just horrible. Like, bro, like you're a billionaire. You have the world in your hands. And sometimes they say that having a lot of money is a blessing and a curse because one, you can do whatever you want, but the curse is you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And no one's going to tell Kanye, listen, Kanye, stop taking nitrous. Like, sure, we the public are going to do that, but no one in his circle are going to sit there and be like, listen, Kanye, you're going to, like, everyone around that man is probably like a yes man telling him, like, yo, do whatever you want, bro. Like, you want to take nitrous? Good job, bro. You're him. You're a billionaire. You're him. Give me more money. Not Kanye giving them. You know what I'm trying to say, but I don't know, bro. I feel like as a billionaire, like someone like Kanye, I feel like what he should just do, take a trip out of the U.S., you know what I'm saying? If he's not already out of the U.S., which he probably is. Sit on a beach somewhere, drink some ayahuasca, and rethink his whole life. His whole life, from start to finish. because he's accomplished a lot. But now he's kind of ruining his accomplishments by the things he's saying and doing. Just remember, people, health is the most important form of wealth. Not money, not relationships with other people, your health.
That will blow your mind, part 17. New York was once called New Amsterdam. The word goodbye came from God be with you. Mexico has the most external debt worldwide. Recycling a 3-foot stack of newspaper can save 1 tree.
Did that just say Mexico has the most deaths worldwide? Why Mexico? I thought Mexico was chill. That's cap. I think they have the cartel and shit. I know this one girl died in Mexico for trying to get a BBL.
Here's some random facts that will mess with the way you see the world. Astronaut means star sailor. Astro meaning star and not meaning sailor. That is such a cool name. High heels were originally made for butchers so they wouldn't get blood on the bottom of their shoes. The first ever webcam was created to check on a coffee pot just to make sure it didn't like catch on fire. In Switzerland, it's illegal to own just one guinea pig. You need at least 2 or more. I think it's because they get depressed if they're alone. Like, I'm not even joking. Australia is wider than the moon. How does that work? The Eiffel Tower is taller in the summer. This is because metal expands when it gets hot, right? A jiffy is an actual unit of time. It's 1/1000th of a second. In Japan, there's over 200 flavors of Kit Kats. I didn't know that there were 200 flavors, period. Queen Elizabeth was a trained mechanic in the military. That's a baller move, though. Become a mechanic and then a queen. Like, do you know the only letter that doesn't appear in a U.S. state name? I'll give you like 3 seconds. Ready? 3, 2, 1. The letter Q.
For all the people that watched the last video, we already heard that. We already knew that Q was the top letter.
Can you actually believe this video was taken 66 years ago?
You're aware that a Negro family has moved into Levittown?
Yes, I heard about it.
What was your reaction?
Dynamite. Dynamite.
What have you done about it?
Well, I guess we just discussed it.
How do you feel about the Myers moving in?
Well, I'm very definitely against it.
Before coming to Levittown, did you have any contact with Negroes?
Well, I came from a small town where we didn't have any colored people. And at that time I had no feelings either way. But while we were waiting for our house to be built, we lived in Trenton for 9 months. And, that was my first contact with them, both in work and going through colored sections to work. And I was very happy I was moving into an all-white community.
Have you ever discussed the Myers at home with your children?
Never before in our house was anything mentioned, pro or con, about colored people, because I feel that they have to be in contact with them to a certain extent, and why should their minds be prejudiced? But since they have moved here, they have heard remarks, and, I'm afraid that they are going to dislike the idea. They were,
They say racism is taught and you're actually not born racist. I can see that because that second girl was like, I've never actually seen or been around anyone black, but the sole fact that they're here now, I just don't know. Like, it's weird because I've seen humans do this thing where, like, if one group of people say, hey, that's bad, even if it's not bad, since other people say that it's bad, they'll just automatically jump to the side that everyone is saying it's bad. I forgot, there was a name for it. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's basically like the follower mindset. Like, oh, one group of people is saying stay away from that, so I'm gonna listen to that group of people, even if whatever the thing they're saying stay away from isn't harmful or isn't gonna do you any bad.
She was forced to participate in a government experiment by her own father, and it turned her into a monster. It was called the Abigail Project. It was the 1960s, right after World War II. The government had hired a guy named Albert Wester to work on these experiments in Area 51 to create a freaking super soldier. But because of how secret and dangerous this experiment was, nobody would volunteer. Like, they couldn't find anyone. What does Albert do? He forces his own daughter to be the test subject. But before I tell you the rest of the story, supposedly you can see if your phone is being spied on. All you gotta do is click share, click more, and if you see this, delete it immediately. Now look, Abigail was placed in a closed room all alone. They gave her growth hormones, injected classified substances in her DNA, and even surgically modified her own body when they weren't getting the results they wanted. She started to turn into something that wasn't even human and had primal instincts. Her father, who was ashamed and devastated of what he did, himself and went to heaven. Or not. 3 months later, Abigail, 2 guards that were supposed to be feeding her. And yeah, she escaped.
Scariest conspiracy theories in the world that will seriously change your life. Part 15. I'm sure by now you are aware that this right here represents all the scariest conspiracy theories in the world. From the least scary to the scariest of the scary. This today is crazy, like crazy. So, let's go. There is also new evidence for this, so if you think you've seen something similar, you haven't because there's new stuff. So, let's do it. So, of course, we all know Michael Jackson, of course, he tragically died. Or did he? Now to start off with, why do people believe that he is still alive? Well, this is why. To start with, when Michael died, no one was there to actually physically prove it. No one actually saw it. Furthermore, no one actually saw his body as he had a closed funeral. And most people of this nature would normally have an open casket, but he didn't. Next up, someone in the crowd at the funeral looked exactly like Michael, just like he'd slightly changed his face and had some makeup and stuff. And he was actually known for doing this before to change his appearance if he wanted to sneak into places. Crazy. Then a while later, his daughter posted this photo where someone in the background looks like Michael. Like, what the hell? Now this right here is the big bit, and this is mental. So this is the ambulance that took Michael, and this video was taken after he died. Take a look. There appears to be someone who looks like Michael getting out the back. Absolutely. Now we know that is the ambulance that he was in prior to this because it has exactly the same number plate. So who the hell was that being secretly escorted out of the back after he died? Now this is ridiculous, I don't know what I think of this. So this guy right here is Dave, supposedly one of Michael's best friends, who he never ever spoke about when he was alive. Now many people actually believe that Dave is actually Michael. He's just undergone a lot of surgery again and completely changed his appearance, so he's completely unrecognizable. Now make sure you hit that follow button because the series only gets crazier.
Yeah, I've heard about Dave so many times, but in my opinion it doesn't make sense only because of the fact that Michael Jackson faked his death to get out of the public light just to go back in the public light with a different name called Dave. Doesn't really make sense to me. But I do know he used to dress in disguises a lot, like a lot of disguises, and I heard it never worked. So I'm not really too sure if he really did fake his death. If you think he faked his death, put your thought in the comments.
Most brutal prisons on Earth, Part 2. Located on Patek Island in Russia, the Patek Island prison is a maximum security prison and is home to the country's worst criminals. The prison has only about 170 men, but each prisoner is kept in a small 2-man cell for 22.5 hours a day every day, only getting to stand for about an hour and a half. Because of the near pure isolation, lack of basic facilities, most residents go insane well before their sentence is complete. Situated near Bangkok in Thailand, the Bang Kwang Maximum Security Prison is the most violent prison in the country, housing 43 prisoners and death row inmates. Physical abuse is the norm here, and inmates are forced to wear shackles, prisoners suffer from malnutrition, and disease is a big problem as the facility has no running water, a barely functioning sewer system, and is severely overcrowded and understaffed.
Yo, when the hell did Matthew Santoro get tasked? Yo, I've seen this man when I was 10 years old, bro. And now, like, 10 plus years later, I'm just like, yo, he still looks the same. Am I bugging? Like, have you guys ever seen Matthew Santoro? Like, he's been around for a minute. I'm just looking at this man like, yo, he looks exactly the same. I feel like once you pass 30, you just don't really look any different until you're like 50 or 60.
Here's some of the weirdest ways that people have died in human history. A 26-year-old had been to hospital trying to figure out how to stop himself from snoring so dang much. He eventually came across a man named Mark Gleason who had prescribed to him a little remedy, which was to stick 2 tampons up his nose. He suffocated. 32-year-old Edward Archibald had actually died in an insect eating contest because he had too many cockroaches and they were still alive and they were crawling up his throat and it clogged his windpipe and he died. All around the world, there are some crazy competitions, including seeing who could sit in a hotter temperature for a longer amount of time, and they did so by sitting in a sauna. And a man was in this competition, and his body overheated and got cooked from the inside out due to the harsh temperatures. There was another guy in the competition too, but he won, and he's still alive. Make sure to like and follow for more. Love you guys.
Top 5 urban legends that turned out to be real. Chuck E. Cheese animatronics move on their own. Chuck E. Cheese has been long rumored to be haunted by animatronic figures that move on their own, even when the power is off. These tales were often dismissed as mere urban legends meant to spook children. However, in 2019, a former employee's testimony brought an eerie truth to light. The employee recounted how during after-hour maintenance, the animatronics would occasionally shift positions or emit sounds despite being turned down. This phenomenon was actually captured on video, showing an animatronic character moving its eyes and mouth when the restaurant was closed. The unsettling footage showed the animatronic's eyes flickering to life and their mouths moving silently. One night, the employee was cleaning when they noticed an animatronic had shifted slightly from its usual position. At first, they thought it was just a trick of the light or a mistake, but then the animatronic's eyes glowed eerily in the darkened room. A soft mechanical whirring sound filled the air and its mouth began to move as if it was speaking. Desperate to prove they weren't imagining things, the employees set up a camera the next night. The footage showed the animatronics moving on their own, their eyes darting around and their mouths opening and closing in the darkness. The video spread among the staff, many of whom had had their own unsettling experiences. Some reported hearing faint, childlike laughter when the restaurant was empty, while others felt cold spots and the sensation of being watched. If you have the guts, follow for the next urban legend.
Interesting people you've never heard of. This man lives across the street from the most well-known life-ending cliff in Australia called the Gap. Over 50 years of living there, he has prevented around 160 different jumps from people who were contemplating by inviting them into his house for tea. This Bulgarian man walked up to 25 kilometers or 15 miles per day in the last 20 years of his life, asking people to donate for orphanages that could not pay their bills. He passed away in 2018 at 103 years old. Joseph Stalin's son was the team manager for the entire Soviet hockey team in the 1950s. When the entire hockey team perished in a plane crash, Joseph Stalin's son was so nervous about his father's reaction that he just put together a whole other team, and his father never knew the difference. Google sent an employee to this abandoned Japanese island to map it for Google Street View. This island at one time was the most densely populated island in the world and is actually the island they used in the movie Skyfall.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. A 20-year-old gang member was dying of primary liver cancer. In his last days, hours, and moments, he was angry. The family called the hospice nurse into the room and told her that they thought he was going. He wasn't responding, his eyes were glossy, his skin was cold, the end was imminent. His lovely mother whispered to him to go towards the light, to her Jesus. He opened his eyes, looked at her, and said, "F your Jesus." A second or two later, he slowly turned his head to the left and got the most horrific look on his face, as if he was looking at something that they couldn't see. And horrified, his face contorted, and he screamed with his last breath, eyes wide, "Oh sh*! Oh sh*! Oh no!" Then he made a guttural noise and promptly fell back into the bed and died. Every family member was shaking and too frightened to speak. The hospice nurse left the room and took 2 days off. She said she doesn't care if she never finds out what he saw.
Yo, that shocked and terrified the nurse so bad that she literally was like, I need a reset. It was only 2 days, though. If it was like 2 weeks, that would have been freaking crazy, bro.
Facts that will mess with your perception of time, Part 1. Woolly mammoths were still around while Egyptians were building the pyramids. Oxford University existed for hundreds of years before the Aztec Empire was founded. George Washington never knew dinosaurs existed. The Nintendo company was founded while Jack the Ripper was still on the loose.
Things that are more creepy at night. Schools. Schools at night. Alleyways. Alleyways at night. Cemeteries. Cemeteries at night. Parking garages. Parking garages at night. The woods. The woods at night. Hospitals. Hospitals at night. A cabin in the woods. A cabin in the woods at night.
If all those basic everyday things are really scary at night, imagine what a prison would look like at night. I feel like that would be crazy.
Have you heard about this supernatural phenomenon that sometimes happens to people in really bad car wrecks? Well, apparently multiple people who have been in horrible car accidents have reported seeing the same strange thing. It's called the third man syndrome, and it's when a supernatural presence offers comfort to a victim during a survival situation. I'm going to share one of the crazy stories with you now, but if you're interested in this, tonight's episode is going to be all of these stories. So a few years ago, a Reddit user was in a horrible car wreck. Like so bad they cut the car door off to get them out. They black out during the accident, but as they come to, they see a woman open their car door and get into the back seat. And the woman put her hand on the driver's shoulder and told him that it was going to be okay, and then she said that help was on the way. The user then blacked out again and came to with a fireman cutting off the door of the car. Afterwards, they're with it enough to talk to the police officers and the firemen on the scene, and they're telling them like, hey, there was this woman that got in the car with me, is she okay? And everyone is like, there was no one in the car with you. Apparently no cars passing by had even stopped for the accident because the fire department was so close, so it was super unlikely that anyone had gotten in the car with them. But this is not the only time that that's happened. Other people have reported a woman getting into the car with them after an accident. There's so many other supernatural stories just like this that I explore in the episode tonight, so make sure you're following along.
I went swimming with sharks, nearly ended up in the hospital, and not for any reason you'd think. Shout out to Nat Geo for sponsoring this video. I'm gonna change the way you look at sharks in less than 60 seconds. Let's get it. The author of Jaws, Peter Benchley, not only did he regret writing the book because of all the bad PR to sharks, he would dedicate the rest of his life to shark conservation. If Jaws were written today, the shark would be the victim. The Greenland shark is a slow burn glacier guppy that can not only live for up to 400 years, they don't hit baby making age until 150. 150, dude, and still young. Now there's more than 500 types of sharks, so it's easy to miss one, like the chain cat shark, which happens to glow in the dark that's biofluorescence. The epaulet is a shark that disrespects the natural order by walking, using pelvic and pectoral fins to move around during low tide. Sharks use a type of camouflage called countershading, meaning if you're above them, they blend into the dark abyss, but if you're below them, their light underbelly gets lost in the light of the sky. When you've been around longer than trees, nature gives you perks like that's Anthony Mackie. It is, and he and Ross Edgley and many more will be a part of National Geographic's Shark Fest airing on Disney Plus and Hulu. Check it out if you're ready to see sharks be anything but the bad guy. Oh, that's right. Well, I wasn't lying. The sharks were fine, but the ocean slammed me against the bars of the cage like it owed me money. So, moral of the story, I'm not afraid of sharks, just the ocean around it.
Terrifying facts about the ocean. Let's get into it. So we've explored roughly 5% of the ocean, leaving many things and creatures yet to be discovered. Also, sunlight penetrates about 700 feet into the ocean, and after that we're in a murky black abyss where we cannot see anything, but many things can still see us. There are about 3 million shipwrecks, with countless human bodies being eaten by many undiscovered and unexplained organisms, so that's terrifying and horrible to think about. Also, there are many unexplained disappearances, from ships to planes to people. Also, the pressure at the bottom of the ocean is so immense it equates to 50 jumbo jets being piled on top of us. There are also plenty of terrifying and deadly diseases that eat our flesh while we were still alive in the ocean. Plenty of creatures have just been discovered, including the giant squid and the basking shark, so who knows what other giant and massive and deadly creatures have yet to be discovered. Also, here's a terrifying situation to think about. We cannot swim up out of the ocean very quick or we will die of something called the bends. So imagine being deep down in the ocean and trying to escape, but realizing you cannot swim up, so you are fucked by whatever creature is chasing you. Also, there are tons of dead bodies. Yeah.
Here's more money facts that are going to blow your mind. On Easter Sunday earlier this year, somebody accessed the Garda World cash storage facility in Los Angeles and stole $30 million. This is the largest heist in LA history, and nobody even noticed until 24 hours later. A man from China purchased a first-class ticket that included a VIP lounge that offered free food. He rescheduled his flight over 300 times to enjoy over 300 free meals. When he finally canceled his ticket, he did get a full refund. Steve Ballmer is now more rich than his former boss, Bill Gates, making this one of the only times in history where an employee became more rich than their founder. Bill Gates recently booked an entire Michelin-starred restaurant in Barcelona for 2 days only to order a Diet Coke and return to his plane. The chef had prepared a $313 tasting menu with gourmet dishes like caviar, but Bill Gates stated that his food preferences are simple and prefers burgers and Diet Coke.
What's the most dangerous place on Earth? Number 8 is Lake Natron in Tanzania. The lake's so alkaline, animals get mummified. Number 7, Morgan Island. Off the coast of South Carolina, 4,000 monkeys all infected with the herpes B virus. Number 6 is Mexico's giant crystal cave, 1,000 feet underground. The cave is 113 degrees Fahrenheit and 100% humidity. 5, Oymyakon, Russia. It's the coldest town on Earth, reaching minus 50 degrees. Number 4, Runit Island. In the 70s, the US government buried radioactive plutonium. Number 3, the K2 Summit, most inhospitable mountain summit in the world. Number 2 is Snake Island, an island full of thousands of poisonous snakes. It's illegal to go here. Number 1 is North Sentinel Island, home to the indigenous people who have violently rejected contact with the outside world. So much so, if you even get close, they'll swim out to you and try to kill you.
My soul just took a screenshot. What's up, bitch?
I did.
Oh.
Damn.
Who was in this guy's basement? Can someone explain to me why this woman froze?
My first reaction whenever I see a video like that is like, why are you recording her? It's just like, oh wow, we're just recording her and then she froze. Very ironic, right?
Facts that could save your life one day. If you're ever somewhere really high like a mountain and feel your hair standing up randomly, don't take any pictures and run as fast as you can to cover. You're about to get hit by a lightning strike, just like these two teens that got hit moments after this picture was taken. If a stranger gets in your car with a weapon and asks you to drive them somewhere, most likely you will have your seatbelt on, but they won't. So drive fast enough into something like a lamppost. Not only will the accident cause a crowd, but it will also injure the stranger, giving you enough time to run away. And don't worry about your damaged car, your insurance will take care of it. And if you're at the beach and you suddenly see the ocean recede, don't think twice and get to high grounds. You're most likely gonna get hit by a tsunami. Better safe than sorry. And finally, if you ever see a bouncing ball on the road while driving, slow down safely and look around, because the ball is usually followed by a small child trying to get it back.
You're telling me if someone's trying to rob me and I crash my car into a pole, I'll get a whole nother car or my money back? So couldn't that be insurance fraud?
Creepy facts about your body you're gonna wish you didn't know. When you go down a drop on a roller coaster and you suddenly feel your stomach drop, it's not just you feeling nervous. What you're feeling are your organs actually moving. Have you ever noticed that an older person in your life seems to have very long, large ears? That's because your ears will never stop growing. Across your lifetime, you will spend an average of an entire year just sitting on a toilet. When we see brains outside of the human body, they usually look pretty solid, but your brain, while inside your skull while you're alive, is actually very soft. It's like melted butter soft.
He's talking about you spend a year in total on the toilet throughout your whole life. You should think about how long we spend at stoplights. You'd be surprised the amount of years you've probably stayed at a stoplight for.
This is one of the most sickening and disturbing cases I ever covered, and it will make any true crime fan's stomach turn. This is the case of Jennifer Dougherty. This case took place in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, which is a relatively small area. Jennifer was 30 years old and was extremely kind and sweet. She loved to dance and she trusted everyone she ever encountered. This is because she had some mental disabilities, and this disability even affected her keeping up with her peers in school. And she always got bullied and teased, but she always chose kindness over anything else. She then started going to this community center when she finally thought she met her friends. And these supposed friends were Angela, Peggy, Amber, Melvin, Ricky, and Robert. And you will soon find out why they weren't her friends. These 6 people all lived together, and Angela was 17, who was pregnant with Ricky's baby, who was 23 years old. Amber was 20, who was pregnant with Melvin Knight's baby. Peggy was 27, and Robert was 36. Now remember, Jennifer was 30 years old, but due to the mental disability she had the mental capabilities of a 12 to 14-year-old person. The six of them and Jennifer hung out for a while, but soon after, Angela became extremely jealous of Jennifer. This is because her boyfriend Ricky would always flirt with Jennifer when they all hung out. So Angela and Amber came up with this whole screwed up plan. On February 10th, 2010, Jennifer was invited to a sleepover with her friends. And before she left a note for her mom that said, "Have a great day at work, and I love you very much." Right when Jennifer stepped into the apartment house, she was subjected to 36 hours of extreme hell. The group went through her purse and stole money, gift cards, and her cell phone. They poured liquids into her bag, hit her head with filled soda bottles, cut her hair, painted her face with nail polish, and dumped liquids and spices on her head. They then took turns violently hitting Jennifer with a metal towel rack and crutches. Jennifer was also stripped naked, gagged, and then raped by Melvin. They even forced her to drink cooking oil, nail polish, detergent, different medications, and even urine. And keep in mind, this whole time, Jennifer completely trusted them because she thought that they were all her friends. But they were literally dehumanizing her. They then continued pouring all of these things and spices on her head, and Jennifer was crying that her eyes hurt and she couldn't see. But they didn't listen and continued pouring. And after they decided they tortured her enough, they took her life. They then tied her up in Christmas lights and forced her to write a fake suicide note, essentially saying that everything that happened to her was self-inflicted. The first line reads, "I have not been feeling happy for a while now, and I also feel everybody will be better off without me." Which is just sad because that wasn't the case. Jennifer was extremely loved. Once the note was written, they got a knife and stabbed Jennifer to death. And once they knew she was dead, they tied her up in Christmas lights again, stuffed her body inside a garbage can, and dumped it in the parking lot of a middle school, where her body would be discovered by a truck driver the next day on February 11th. Even though Angela orchestrated the whole thing, she avoided the death penalty because she was 17 and a minor. But she ended up getting life without parole. Melvin got the death sentence. Ricky was also given the death penalty, and Peggy, Amber, and Robert were given 30 to 72 years in prison. This case is just so sickening and disturbing, and it stuck with me after I read it, and I feel extremely bad for Jennifer and her family. I wish nothing but the worst for those 6 people who did this to Jennifer.
Yeah, nah, that's horrible. I mean, two of them got the death penalty, but how you gonna let a 17-year-old girl guide you into doing something stupid like that, bro? Because all of them, I'm pretty sure were over like 20 years old. She said one was like 23, the other one was like 20. So then why you letting a 17-year-old girl tell you, hey, let's hurt this? Come on, bro. Use your brain, bro.
LeBron James is the one high-profile athlete that doesn't really have any blemishes on his career or even his life in general outside of his sport. No criminal convictions, not even a DUI. No cheating or beating on his wife, no gambling addiction. The guy is a family and community man, investing millions of dollars into his hometown and even getting his son Bronny into the league. But this Vogue magazine cover that he did with Tom Brady's ex-wife Giselle is the one stain on his life that I can't believe he allowed to happen. To be honest, I can't really blame him for this because he probably just showed up to the photo shoot and posed for the camera, not thinking too much of it. But apparently Vogue, or whoever was behind the idea for that cover, thought a lot about it because this is what they were trying to have him recreate. This is a 1917 US propaganda ad known as "Destroy This Mad Brute." Now it's basically just anti-German propaganda that represents Germany destroying all of Europe. But on face value, it's a crazy looking gorilla holding a white damsel in distress. And Vogue decided to get one of the most, if not the most popular black athletes at the time, have him make this face so he can look all hyped up or mad while holding a white damsel. And I don't put emphasis on white because there's something necessarily wrong with that, but the optics just don't look too great, especially with this pose. I mean, it's obvious as day what they were trying to do with this. They put LeBron in the exact same position and had him make the exact same facial expression as the gorilla. And I try my best not to be one of those people who says that everything is a sign of racism, but This just is racism hiding in plain sight. And I feel like Braun should have known better, or at least been a little more careful, because the pose and the facial expression while holding this woman like this just isn't a good look, regardless of if they were trying to recreate that image. I can't blame him too much, because at this time in 2008, he was probably just taking the opportunities as they come. But this is still crazy work.
Man, LeBron was trying to get a bag, bro. I don't think he really gave a fuck about all the other shit, bro. LeBron was trying to get a bag. In terms of Tom Brady's ex-wife, though, I don't know, bro. I posted about that situation. I think my last video, either my last video or my video before the last video. No, I think it was my video before my last video. Yeah. Tom Brady played that one smart, man. That man's playing chess.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. A different version of you exists in the minds of everyone who knows you. Nighttime is the natural state of the universe. Daytime is only caused by a nearby radiating ball of flame. The word mortgage comes from a French term that means death pledge, or a contract that only expires upon death. Over 50% of commercial pilots have all admitted to falling asleep while flying a plane. The sun may have exploded, and we wouldn't know it for at least 8 minutes. Hit the plus sign if these disturbed you.
Here are some things that are completely normal during the day, but really creepy at night. Digging holes in your backyard. I mean, it's your backyard, and you're entitled to do whatever you want to it, but if I see you digging some holes in the middle of the night, I'm gonna be really concerned. Bonus creepy points if you have some trash bags next to you, too. I feel bad for people who work graveyard shifts or are night owls, because it makes it difficult to do any gardening or landscaping without looking pretty creepy. They say a child's laughter is one of the most beautiful sounds in the world, but not if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Scary movies have absolutely ruined the sound of a child laughing for me, because most instances, I'm gonna assume the worst. And for some reason, little girls laughing are even more scary. Like, imagine being in the woods camping and you hear some little girl laughing in the distance. My brain isn't gonna think, oh cool, some family must be camping near us. No, I'm gonna think that I'm gonna get murdered or possessed by some demon. Someone knocking on your door during the day, it's annoying. Who the fuck is showing up at my house unannounced? It must be a salesman or worse, Mormons. That same knock at 3 in the morning? No, I'm getting murdered for sure. I'm on the 2nd floor and my only way out is to jump out the window, so I'm done for.
People you never knew existed. This is Josephine Myrtle, and she was born with 4 legs and 2 sets of genitals. Despite having these conditions, she got married and had 5 kids. These are the only 2 men in the world who can speak the Ayapaneco language in Mexico, but they don't talk to each other because they have beef. Doctors were left stunned when this man came into the hospital complaining about chest pain. After a couple of scans, they realized he had 2 hearts. Jill Price has perfect memory of her life, and if you ask her what she ate for breakfast 20 years ago, she would get it right.
Honestly, that's good for her. Most people can't even remember what they ate for breakfast this morning. What did you eat for breakfast this morning? Put it down in the comments if you remember.
What could be more terrifying than the thought of your own body setting itself on fire? For hundreds of years, this phenomenon has been the subject of scientific scrutiny as well as deep, deep mystery. Spontaneous human combustion. This is when the human body appears to ignite internally, a fire starting from within before the entire body becomes engulfed. This actually dates all the way back to the 1600s, and since then there have only ever been about 200 cases reported worldwide. In 1984, a scientific team was assembled led by Joe Nickell to investigate a number of these cases dating back to the 1800s. One of the unusual threads that was found between all of these cases was that with every body investigated, there seemed to be some trace of alcohol in the system. This gave way to the wick theory, suggesting that if alcohol was in the system and there was some kind of a chemical change that could ignite a fire, body fat could be used as an accelerant, making the mystery of this phenomenon one you should think about next time you're drinking.
The mother of the Uvalde school shooter was arrested last year after making death threats herself. And this seems to be an alarming pattern of behavior in this family. So if you don't remember, in 2022, this man went into the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and opened fire, killing 21 people altogether, 19 young children and 2 teachers. This was one of the most horrific events to ever really happen here in the United States. It sent shockwaves around the world. And those 21 students and teachers that lost their lives that day will never be forgotten. But in January of 2023, Salvador Ramos, the shooter's mother, Adriana Reyes, spent 2 nights in jail for threatening to murder her disabled partner that she lived with. Apparently, the man that she was dating stated that he felt terrified and felt like she could kill him at any second, and that's why he called the police to report her. Now, initially, she tried to claim that this never happened, but somebody who was a witness to these threats, who actually heard her screaming these death threats, corroborated the story with the police, and she was arrested.
And if you'll remember, Salvador Ramos's cousin actually threatened to do the same thing as his cousin, aka he threatened to commit another shooting last year as well. And needless to say, I think that there's just something wrong here. This week on our podcast, my wife Courtney and I are starting our series about the Uvalde school shooting. Our podcast is called Murder in America, and we're going through everything that led up to this, the police failures, the massacre itself, and obviously everything that happened afterward.
I remember hearing about that a while back. That was a horrible event. That's crazy that his mom would try to do that to someone that's literally disabled. Like, that makes you kind of look at someone like, yo, like, are you good?
Is this a coincidence? Tree stump. Fingerprints. Tree branch. Human lungs. Leaf veins. Human veins. Tree of life. Human placenta. Grass. Human hair. Tree roots. Human veins. River network. Human veins. Tree roots. Human nervous system. Thorn plant. Human spine.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that everything in the universe is connected. That's what that basically showed me, because there's way too many connections and coincidences for it, in my opinion, to just be, oh, it's just a coincidence. Like, I think it was actually something connected.
You were today years old when you found these out. If you want to heat up some food at night, microwaves have a silent mode. To activate the silent mode, all you have to do is hold down the 1 button. So you're driving a car, you need gas, but you don't know which side the tank is on. If you look on the dashboard, there's an arrow next to the gas tank indicating which side the gas tank is on. Surprisingly, the drawer under the oven isn't used to hold pots and pans. It's made to keep your food warm until you're ready to eat. Airplane windows actually have little holes in them to prevent the windows from fogging. These candies are called lifesavers because if a child accidentally chokes someone, they will still be able to breathe because of the hole in the middle.
Hey, that's dope. I pretty much knew all of that except for the lifesavers and the microwave one. Thinking to myself, like, yo, why don't microwave companies that actually give you, or that you actually buy the microwaves from, why don't they just put that on the thing? Maybe they do, and I just don't read it. Have you guys ever bought a microwave and seen that it says that the one is the night mode or whatever? Because I never knew that.
Whatever you do, don't freak out, but this bug lives on your face. Demodex mites dig face first inside your pores. But don't freak out, they're harmless. They just eat your grease and dead skin on your face. But there is one thing you should be worried about. Don't cry, but they do wake up in the middle of the night to mate on your face. Yeah, now you know. But they're harmless. And they live on all of you. Live with it. Like if you want a part 2 of things you don't know that live on your body.
This is what we know about the awful case of 16-year-old Shelby Benny. Shelby was a cheerleader at Bixby High School, and on Thursday night, her family was on their way home with her dad behind the wheel. He had reportedly been drinking, and according to her mom, they were also having a heated argument up in the front seats. At 70 miles per hour, he tried to pass another vehicle in a no-passing zone, and their SUV flipped. As we know, Shelby was tragically ejected from her family's vehicle on impact. A bystander immediately ran over to the scene, but there aren't even words for what happened next. Shelby's father was reportedly standing disoriented just outside of the crashed car, and when asked if anyone was hurt, he ran away. He left his 16-year-old daughter there to die on the pavement. Now, according to police, they were able to determine that Elliot had fled to a local family-owned business, and it was there that he got access to another car. They were able to electronically track that vehicle, and within 12 hours, they found him behind the wheel in a town about an hour away. It was obviously too late to give him a DUI test, but he was taken into custody. With Elliot's arrest, we know that while he tried to tell police he skidded on an oil spot, he's also admitted to taking a few swigs of the vodka bottle that was found in the front seat. Today, Elliot is charged with first-degree manslaughter, but he has already posted his $100,000 bail. And as for Shelby's mom and her siblings, again, unfortunately, we don't know how they're doing now. Shelby is described as a bright light with a heart of gold and the best teammate you could ask for. If you would like to support her family during this time, the link will be in my bio.
My brain is still caught up on the fact that she says they electronically tracked his other car. How do you electronically track another car? How do they even connect that? That's so crazy. There's so much technology that the government and the military has that we have no access to yet. I'm pretty sure they said the military is actually 10 years ahead of us, which is absolutely insane.
Yet a hyena's a girl. So many may know, female hyenas have a fake meat hose that looks almost identical to the real thing. And for those that don't, actually, that's the lead. They have a pseudo phallus that they give birth from, and yes, it's as traumatizing as you think, and yes, the very process of birth can end up doing the exact opposite for everyone involved. But low-key, having a built-in flesh strap might explain why hyenas are exactly the way they are. So for most animals, life pretty much comes down to the 3 F's: food, fights, and... So a lot of times when male animals run a fade, it's for the goal of female validation. But hyenas having a female 5th leg means they have a natural crotch block. It's basically anti-mating hardware that means the no pants dance can only happen if she allows it. So unlike things like lions or bears, there's really no reason for male hyenas to want smoke with each other when getting it in is already RNG. Pun intended. And it's believed having coitus completely out of their control is why male hyenas are way less aggressive and even have less testosterone than the females. Meanwhile, the females are more on go than a green light. And why hyena sisters are way more likely to put each other on a t-shirt. And with them being pack animals with a whole social ladder, the Walking Comedy Club had to become more aggressive just to give their cubs a chance at life. Matter of fact, that's probably why they have more testosterone. So yeah, moral of this video. Lion King did hyenas every type of dirty, but they got it right when they had Shenzi giving orders. And now you know why.
Horses are much bigger than people, so naturally they just have a lot more blood than we do. So whenever horses get nosebleeds, it ends up looking like a whole crime scene. So one of the only reasons we know how many people died in the Titanic are the shoes that are laying on the ocean floor. Some are pretty cool, others are kind of depressing. And the reason we count the shoes instead of, bones is because when the Titanic hit the floor, all the corpses kind of just scattered and the fish ate the corpses, but the fish couldn't eat the shoes. If you ever decide to go climb Mount Everest, I hope that you remember that the crevices in the ice are V-shaped, which means if you were to ever accidentally fall down one, you more than likely wouldn't die instantly. Your body heat would melt the ice around you, causing you to slip further and further down until your chest couldn't expand enough to breathe. So make sure you bring a friend just as crazy as you to help get you out.
Nah, those were some terrifying facts, I'm not gonna lie. Imagine getting stuck down a...
Ellen Greenberg, pictured behind me, had over 20 stab wounds, but they classified it as suicide. Let's talk about why that is not the case. On January 26, 2011, there was a blizzard happening in Philadelphia. She worked there and wanted to go home, so she left her workplace. At 6:40 p.m. that same day, she was stabbed 20 times. 10 of those times were in the back of her neck and in her back. She also had 11 bruises on her right arm, her legs, and her abdomen. Now, despite these findings that the wounds were on her back and she had bruises all over her, the Philadelphia police classified this as a suicide. Now, the Philadelphia police and the homicide investigators said this was a suspicious case, and then they closed it and ruled it a suicide. So, in my opinion, I think a cover-up is going on here. Maybe someone powerful decided to pull a hit on her, or maybe one of the investigators or the Philadelphia police themselves were in on this. There's just no way this is a suicide. 20 stab wounds with 10 to the back of your neck and back, there's no possible way. And the bruising, like, come on, obviously there was a struggle, obviously there was some blunt force trauma. Ellen Greenberg's case needs to be reopened and reevaluated. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
That actually makes me kind of curious, because it's like that, it's physically impossible for someone to really, like, just one alone, I mean, unless you're under some heavy drugs, just one alone should make you just drop the knife and be like, nah, I'm not doing that. Didn't he say like 12? Like, what? That's a lot, dude.
The murder of McKinley Chick-fil-A Marie has to be my favorite case of all time. Like, I actually get butterflies in my stomach every time I revisit this case. I'm just so fascinated by the killer. He was so dedicated. He was gorgeous. Super, super dreamy. Like, if he wasn't behind bars, I would probably be with him. And just how dedicated he was to chopping her into bits and pieces. I mean, he really had no remorse, and we almost have to appreciate that. Like, the fact that he carried this chainsaw around for miles and miles, and after chopping her up, it just wasn't enough that he decided to also set on fire. I'm like, there's something hot about that. Siri, play This Girl Is on Fire. We can make jokes now, guys. It's been a long time. The best part about this is that this killer had no remorse. During the court hearing, he actually sat and looked her family members dead in the eyes. Dead, get it, guys? And he actually just laughed the entire time. And you know what? I can appreciate a man who doubles down. Also, disclaimer before people get their panties in a twist, I am being super, super respectful of the family. I'm only sharing things that I've seen already on the internet, so I'm not making things up. These are just facts, and I just wanted to share that with you guys.
I agree with her. They really do, honestly, are always like that. They're just like, you know, and then, like, it's crazy. Like, come on.
Here are some facts that you were never taught that could legitimately save your life one day. So listen the fuck up. If there is a random smell of fish in your house, when you haven't had fish, obviously, how do I put this? Get the fuck out! Because this is most likely a sign of an electrical fire. If someone you know is having a heart attack and you need to give them aspirin, make sure they chew it before they swallow it, because it makes it work faster. If you are outside or high up or whatever, and you not only hear a crunchy crickling noise in the sky, also your hair starts to randomly stand up like it's static, you need to run. Because you, my friend, are about to get struck by lightning. If you are in the pool and the pool water starts tasting metallic, first piece of advice, stop drinking pool water. Second, get the fuck out because there's most likely an electrical short somewhere in the water. Finally, baths are the best place to hide during a tornado. So grab your rubber ducky and wait it out. Let's make a deal. If you didn't know any of these, you have to share it, and all with me now. Elon!
This is the scary truth about Mars. So everybody knows humans are trying to get people to live on Mars, especially Elon Musk. But none of these people ever tell you this scary truth about the red planet Mars. Mars is actually famous for its dust storms, and they have the largest sandstorms in the entire solar system. These storms can last for months, and these storms just don't stick to one area. These storms actually engulf the entire planet of Mars, and the winds can reach up to 60 miles per hour. These sandstorms can also block the sun, which would just start a domino effect of problems. So, if us humans actually make it to Mars, one of these storms can just kill us all and just ruin all the years of hard work to get there.
I feel like a dust storm would be a big obstacle for us if we do end up going to Mars, because we have dust storms here. Remember when we had the Dust Bowl? Yo, we did not know what the hell to do. It was crazy over there. So imagine on Mars where the whole planet is just straight dust.
This is the dirtiest man in the world. Amal Haji is in his 80s and he hasn't bathed for over 60 years. He leads a nomadic lifestyle in Iran, and his favorite food is rotten porcupine, and he smokes animal feces out of a pipe. He believes that cleanliness will bring him sickness, and he says the thought of taking a bath after all this time makes him angry.
I mean, hopefully there's a science behind his madness, because I could see it as like, oh, I'm doing this so I build my immune system stronger to get used to all this. But then it's like, if you're never going to clean yourself again, then what's the point of even building your immune system up? I don't know. Maybe I'm the mad scientist.
Now I know we all love the thought of little old E.T. coming to visit Earth, making his entrance like, hello. But maybe that isn't such a good idea for, you know, fucking humanity. Actually, a lot of scientists hope that the universe is completely empty. We're so lonely. The theoretical Great Filter is fucking terrifying. The scientists have calculated that there should be at least 20 civilizations in our galaxy alone. So, E.T., where the fuck are you? Come home to Daddy. Or a more terrifying question, what happened to them? That is what scientists are asking. The Great Filter. The belief that somewhere along life's trajectory, life suddenly goes, you know what, nah, fuck you all. Completely wiping it out before it becomes too intelligent. An inevitable, unavoidable phenomenon. It's different to every civilization. It could be disease. We have enough for fucking that. Nuclear power, AI, Elon. No, wait, no, too soon. Or one of these fucking things. Now there's two options. One, we're already ahead of the Great Filter. We survived or did the undoable, making us very rare. Or we're behind it, still yet to face our challenge that we most likely won't survive. And we won't see it coming. Elon!
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer too. I'm angry.
Creepiest things kids have ever said. A man's mother passed away in a car accident when he was 6 years old. When his 2-year-old daughter saw a picture of her grandmother for the first time, she laughed. He asked her, "What's so funny?" She looked at him and said, "That's my special friend who sings to me." A man's 3-year-old daughter stood next to her newborn brother and looked at him for a while. She turned back to her dad and said, "Daddy, it's a monster. We should bury it." A woman and her 4-year-old son were out in public when all of a sudden he starts rubbing on her belly and talking to it. She asked what he was doing and he said, "I'm talking to the baby." She informed him politely that she was not pregnant, and then he said, "There is a baby in your belly. I just saw it crawl across the floor and climb up into you." A woman's 5-year-old asked when he was going to be 23 years old. She told him in 18 years. He replied, "Well, I hope I don't die again because that's how old I was the last time I went to heaven." Follow for more of the...
Yo, imagine that lady was just super obese. Oh my gosh, that would be so disrespectful. He's like, yo, you're so fat. I thought you were pregnant.
This is real footage that was accidentally captured by a group of scientists that were looking for an old library. They found an ancient cult that had been around for thousands of years, using teeth as their form of currency. This elusive cult has rarely ever been captured on camera. You see, this cult wears masks to hide their identity, as well as hooded cloaks that are either red or black, and worship a god called Winfred Stitch. And that's why this cult is called the Stitch Veneration. They can often be found at music concerts, and only one musician called Covey is known to be a Stitcher, with the Stitch symbol tattooed on his hand, and fans wear masks to all of the shows.
I want to go ahead and I want to discuss this Instagram story and what makes this diabolically creepy. So I'm not going to give the name, I blocked everything out because clearly they want to remain anonymous. Context is that somebody clearly broke into their old school. I don't know if it was their middle school, high school, whatever it was. And they posted this to their story, but pretty soon after, people started commenting about what they see in the background. You zoom in just a little bit, you would see that this person was not alone in that classroom. But before we take a deeper look at that photo, a huge thank you to Spyfly for bringing you this story. If you want to look up something about somebody, you go to Spyfly. How to become this one-stop shop where you can do background reports, you can look at arrest records, you can even do reverse phone lookup. Spyfly.com is going to be the place to do it. You can check the link in my bio for more details. So back to this photo. I don't know if you can see this, but there is definitely somebody crouching in the background of this classroom. And if you still doubt me, I zoomed in and enhanced the picture for you.
This is John List, and in 1971, he murdered his entire immediate family before escaping and starting a completely new life that he lived for more than 17 years before he was eventually caught. This is a wild story. I covered it on the latest episode of my podcast, but here's an overview. In 1951, John List married Helen Taylor, and together they had 3 children, Patricia, John Frederick, and Frederick. List had served in the Army and was an accountant with a successful career working as a comptroller for a bank in Jersey City, New Jersey. The family lived in a 19-room mansion in Westfield, New Jersey called Breeze Knoll, and the 5 of them, along with John's mother Alma, who was also living with them, were swimming in space there. The family seemed to have a happy life here. It seemed like John was successful, and they weren't super social, but everything seemed fine. The kids were popular and hardworking, and nobody knew anything bad about the family. Behind closed doors, things were not as they seemed. Helen was an alcoholic and was extremely ill from contracting syphilis from her first husband. And John List had lost his job at the bank. But instead of telling his family, he basically went to work every day pretending that he was going to his job and coming home after work hours. And he started skimming money off of his mother's bank account to help pay the mortgage. But then on November 9th, 1971, John List would do the unthinkable. That morning, he dropped the kids off at school and returned home. And when he got home, he took out one of his guns, approached his wife of almost 20 years, and shot her in the back of the head. He then went up to the attic apartment where his 84-year-old mother lived and shot her as well. When 16-year-old Patricia and 13-year-old Frederick arrived home from school, List attacked them from behind, shooting them each in the back of the head. List then made himself some lunch. He went into the bank and closed both him and his mother's accounts, and then he went to Westfield High School where he watched his middle son, John Frederick, play a soccer game. After the game, he drove 15-year-old John Frederick home. And when they got home, he attacked. John Frederick tried to fight back, but unfortunately he ended up succumbing to multiple gunshot wounds. List then placed the bodies of Helen, Patricia, John Frederick, and Frederick on top of sleeping bags in the mansion's ballroom. He left Alma up in the attic apartment because she was too heavy to drag down. He then wrote a letter to his pastor confessing what he had done, and he wrote letters to the kids' school saying that they would be gone visiting a sick relative for a few weeks so nobody would suspect them missing. Then he walked around the house and removed every single photo of himself from all of the photo albums. Finally, he started piping religious music throughout the home, and then he left. By the time the bodies were discovered a month later, John List was long gone. And while he was the immediate main suspect in the murders, police didn't have a lot to go on, and they were unable to circulate a recent photo of him because he had removed every single photo of himself from inside the house. The family's car was found at JFK Airport, but John List went undetected for almost 18 years. Go to part 2.
What? How long ago was that? That was definitely a while back, because I'm like, nowadays they find you off anything. We were just talking about that one person that got caught up from just like getting tracked. He's in a complete different car, but somehow they just still tracked him. How?
I have a Sisimite story time. In case you don't know what that is, it is a beast that lives deep in the woods in Honduras. He will come out late at night looking for his next victim, which is usually a female, that he will then bring back to his cave and force her to become his wife. This story was submitted by Marie. I went ahead and tagged her down below. When Marie's mom was about 10 years old, she was living in Honduras. There was this pretty woman from that same town that was up late drying some clothes right outside of her house, when out of nowhere a Sisimite came and abducted her. Neighbors heard her cries but didn't think anything of it up until the morning when they realized that she was missing. Everyone decided to gather around town and look for this woman. Meanwhile, this woman was actually in this Sisimite's cave where he was SAing her to the point that she was actually injured. He then laid flowers all around her. He was in love with her. He wanted her to marry him. Some of the townspeople actually heard her cries coming from one of the caves and were able to get to her in time. They ended up rushing her to the hospital and found that she had lost hearing in one of her ears and was covered in bruises. The woman describes to a T exactly what he looked like, even described his backwards feet, his hairiness. She said that he looked half human and half monkey. Years later, the woman ended up surviving for a few years. She did in fact end up passing away due to her injuries. From that day forward, no one ever came out late at night, especially in that town that was located right at the bottom of the mountain where it was more known for him to be around.
Don't get me wrong, the new Willy Wonka movie looks fine, but there's no way it's going to be as dark as the original book. We're talking dark enough to not make any cut of any of the movies. Also, I cover stuff for the darkly curious here, and if that's you, you might like the podcast. So in all the movies, we see the Oompa Loompas as these singing, dancing, unbothered henchmen of Willy Wonka's. But in the book, they are so much darker than that. In the book, Oompa Loompas are pygmies from Africa that Willy Wonka kidnapped and brought to his factory. Look at this passage. Once Willy Wonka realizes that they'll work for beans, he shipped them over here, every man, woman, and child in the Oompa Loompa tribe. It was easy. I smuggled them over in large packing cases with holes in them, and they all got here safely. But the book came out in 1964, and at that point, slavery had been abolished in the UK for almost 160 years. So rightfully so, people were not happy with this portrayal. But this is just a good reminder that Willy Wonka is the villain of these movies. He's a curmudgeon-y shut-in with Peter Pan syndrome who invites children to his factory to watch them die. And then he acts as if you're the one annoying him. Anyways, this one looks very light and fluffy and not that.
3 stories that will keep you awake tonight.
If you're ever in Texas and find teeth in a field, run. It's 1890 and Claire Crane is burying her daughter, but something wasn't right about her death. It was abrupt and happened so fast with zero reason or why. Fast forward 5 years and Claire is accused of poisoning her husband with candy laced with poison and is put into a mental asylum where she would later escape. Not long after that, kids started coming up missing and teeth started showing up in fields across Texas. While investigating, the cops found candy wrappers with a note written on them: "Come outside for more candy." The candy lady would then kill them and drink their blood and leave their teeth in a field. She noticed it in the corner and real life turned into a horror story. In 2004, there was a young babysitter who had been hired to look after some children for the evening. As the kids were peacefully sleeping upstairs, she decided to pass the time by watching some TV, waiting patiently for the parents to return home. But as she settled into the comfy couch, she noticed something odd in the corner of the room. It was a large, towering clown statue. Despite its stationary position, it gave off an eerie feeling as if it was constantly watching her, its eyes following her every move. Feeling a bit unsettled, she decided to
called the children's father, hoping to make light of the situation. And after ensuring him that the kids were fine, she jokingly asked about the creepy clown statue in the living room. But the line fell silent, and after what felt like eternity, the father's voice cracked through the silence, revealing that they didn't own a clown statue. Fear flooded the babysitter. She dropped the phone, dashed up the stairs, gathered the kids, and ran outside, her shaking fingers dialing 911. The police arrived swiftly, their stern faces disappearing into the house. And then they emerged with the man, the clown statue, who had been hiding under one of the kids' beds with a sharpened screwdriver. Never say her name 3 times in the mirror or you may experience a vengeful fate. Well, centuries ago in a small village, there lived a beautiful woman named Mary. She was well known in the community for her stunning good looks and charm. However, Mary's happiness was short-lived as she faced a tragic fate. One day, she fell deeply in love with a local man whom she believed was her soulmate, and they planned to marry and live happily ever after. Well, unfortunately, jealousy and envy plagued the village, and there was a woman who desired the man's affection for herself. Consumed by envy and bitterness, this woman spread rumors and lies about Mary, tarnishing her reputation and turning the village against her. Well, in the midst of the turmoil, the villagers grew increasingly hostile towards Mary, and in their anger and rage, they accused her of being a witch and blamed her for all their misfortunes. The villagers then decided to take matters into their own hands and execute Mary, leaving her to a gruesome and brutal death. Well, legend has it that Mary's spirit was unable to find peace in the afterlife. Tormented by the injustice done to her, she vowed to seek revenge on those who wronged her. And over time, the once beautiful Mary transformed into a vengeful and malevolent spirit, her face becoming disfigured and covered in blood. But according to the legend, summoning Bloody Mary through the ritual in front of the mirror is a way to invoke her spirit. Those who dare to perform the ritual may experience eerie occurrences such as seeing her ghostly figure, hearing her chilling screams, or encountering other paranormal phenomena. And that's why they say,
yo, he was just hitting us with stories back to back to back. I was like, what? Screwdriver?
Folks, we got another reptilian shapeshifter caught on live TV. This man's evil. I don't know who he is. He's evil. Want more proof that lizard people or reptilians are real? Check out this video. Link in bio.
It's funny she said that because we've actually seen a video of a guy that has a teeth problem and his teeth look exactly like that. So that could have just be a teeth problem and not really reptilians.
I have an incubus story time. In case you don't know what an incubus is a D word that will SA their victim while they sleep. I just want to pre-warn you guys that there's a lot of trigger warnings in this story. 1 and 2, please be careful with the comments you leave behind, because the last time I covered this subject, TikTok didn't like the comments at all and the video actually got taken down. So the person wishes to remain anonymous. She said I can't use her first real name, but I can't tag her. So let's get to the story. So Nisha lives in Sydney, Australia. About 7 months ago at about 3 a.m. she got woken up. She could feel like someone was touching her back, at which point she became completely paralyzed. This is when the terror began. She was then SA'd by this thing. She couldn't scream for help. Mind you, her roommates were not very far. She couldn't move, she couldn't do anything. She was completely helpless. After some time, she was able to get a whisper out. That's when she started to tell this thing to leave her alone. She literally used all of her strength to get this thing to go away, and it finally did. When she came to, she found herself laying in bed, so she turned the lights on right away and called her boyfriend and told him everything that had happened. At first, she thought that maybe it had just been a horrible nightmare until she went to look and realized that she was covered in bruises.
Don't want to have nightmares? Keep scrolling, because this is Earth's Scariest Places, part 63.
This is Bob Mackey's Music World, a now nightclub in Kentucky with an extremely dark and haunted history. It's been labeled one of the most haunted places in the state of Kentucky, and if you keep watching, I'll tell you why. In the 1940s, it was known as the Latin Quarter, and it was visited frequently by lots of mobsters and crime lords. I'll get back to that, but it's important to know that before it became the French Quarter, it was a slaughterhouse, and in this slaughterhouse, very, very dark things happened. It was rumored that things like satanic rituals, torture, consumption of babies, cannibalism, and murders all happened in the basement of the slaughterhouse. One notable story is that of a woman named Joanna. When it was the French Quarter, she fell in love with a mobster. She ended up becoming pregnant with his child. When he found out, he was enraged and ended up killing her and burying her in the basement of the French Quarter. Today, it's a functioning nightclub, but the basement is completely closed off. People have reported so much paranormal activity there, including the ghost of Joanna, screaming, footsteps, and feeling like they're being watched.
You said it was a functioning nightclub? I feel like a lot of weird things go on in nightclubs. I'm not bugging. And he said they eat what? They eat he said they were eating yeah, we're not even talking about.
Here are some Disney secrets that you didn't know. If you look close, you can see that most scenes from different Disney movies are actually very similar. And that's because drawings were actually made by hand. And the animators only make a few changes to make a new scene. And since Walt Disney wanted to spend most of his time at Disneyland, he actually built a secret apartment on the second floor of the fire station, which is located on the famous avenue that leads you to the park's Central Plaza. And the name of the wizard in Fantasia is actually Yenzin, which is actually the word Disney in reverse. And Blue from Monsters, Inc.'s real name is actually Mary, and that's because the person who plays her is called Mary Gibbs.
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. PT point 6. Phobias are based on how we died in our past life. Maybe that's why we're afraid to do things we never tried, because it's how we died. Experts said that dark areas, such as abandoned houses and vacant rooms, are the possible places where you can feel the presence of ghosts. So if you're alone right now while reading this post, there is a chance that someone is watching you. If you're awake at night without a reason, then it means that you are awake in someone else's dreams.
If I'm being honest, I can see the phobia one being real. Like, that's a way that we honestly, I don't even think it's real. I feel like just our brain just is like, yo, nah, but then how would it? Because subconsciously, we low-key fear things that we just, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that our phobias could be of how we died in our past life, or just something that your brain chemically just knows not to touch? Or was it just something that was taught? Because I'm like, how do we know spiders are bad? Like, do we just, is it a trained fear, or is it something subconscious?
Conspiracy theories that'll ruin your childhood, part 3. The first one is about finding Nemo. Did you know that Nemo actually translates to nothing or nobody in Latin? And some people think that that's just what he was. He was nothing. After the traumatic attack on his family, Marlin created a fictional son in his mind in order to cope with the loss. So finding Nemo was really just him going through the stages of grief. And that's also why he's so overprotective. And the next one gets even darker. It's about cars. When you were watching this, you might have noticed that there are no humans anywhere. But humans had to have been there at some point to build the cars, change the motors, and all that kind of stuff. So what happened to them? The theory is that in the future, technological advancements made it possible for cars to think on their own, which I feel like at this point is not that far of a stretch, you know what I mean? But they didn't want to be controlled by humans anymore, so they ran over all the humans one by one until they took over the world.
Dude, there's no way. If that's real, then that's actually a little bit crazy. It's gonna make me look at the Cars movie way different now.
Websites you should probably remember. SAAI.ai. This website allows you to generate custom articles from the click of a button. Once you're on the website, there are 3 separate options. First, input what topic you want to talk about. The second one is you want to select what type of essay you're willing to write. You can choose from all of these options. Third, select how many words you want it to actually be. Then finally, you can select which language you want to do. Here's a tip. If you click the undetectable mode, it will make it look like an actual human wrote it, giving you a 0% AI score, which means teachers or people you're sending this to will think you're the one who actually wrote it, and we can use GPT-0 to check the results of this, and as you can see, bam, here they are. Good luck with this, and please don't snitch.
Morbid Facts, Part 389. In 1987, police responded to Illinois father Russell Dardine's home after he failed to report to work. There they found the dead bodies of his pregnant wife Ruby and their son, who were both victims of a brutal beating. Ruby was beaten so badly that she prematurely went into labor, and even the newborn baby was beaten to death as well. Initially, Keith was the most obvious suspect until his body was found shot dead in a nearby field with his genitals mutilated. Serial killer Tommy Lynn Sells later confessed to the murders but was never formally charged, so the case remains cold. In 1980, John Favera, the neighbor of mafia boss John Gotti, accidentally ran over and killed the mobster's 12-year-old son Frank. Although it was ruled an accident, Favera went missing that same year and was never seen nor heard from again. Former mobster Charles Carneglia later claimed that Favera was abducted, tortured, and slowly dismembered with a chainsaw while he was still alive. His remains were then stuffed inside a barrel filled with concrete and dumped in the ocean.
Dude, the one that really shocked me was the one where he said that she got beaten so badly she prematurely went into labor?
Gross habits that are actually good for you. You probably think burping is rude and disrespectful. Well, that's wrong. Burping actually helps release the air that's trapped inside your lungs. And believe it or not, but if you never burp, you could actually damage your digestive system. Biting your nails might seem nasty at first, but digesting bacteria that's under your nails actually improves your immune system. Studies show that kids who bite their nails are actually less prone to getting sick. Before I tell you the grossest one, I found this app where you can erase anything from your photos, and I mean literally anything. Press the link in my bio, but don't use it for bad. If you shower every day, stop right now. Showering every day could actually damage your skin and your hair, because when you shower, you remove many useful bacteria. So the next time you skip a few showers, just know you're actually being healthy.
All right, I feel like the showering one was a stretch, because if I'm being honest, like, you need to, if you do physical activity or you're outside a lot, please shower. I feel like he's talking about for the people that are not so active. Like, let's say, you spend like a day in the house, it's a calm, chill day. You spend the whole day in the house. Maybe you don't need to shower that night or that morning, But like the next day, please shower.
48-year-old David Carpenter from Iowa was recently arrested after accidentally shooting his father in the face after the two were arguing about David's stinky feet. He is now awaiting trial. Here are some recent crimes that happened in August of 2024 that caught my attention. This is 25-year-old David Fogel, who was kicked out of a strip club in Tampa, Florida for, quote, inappropriate behavior. Instead of driving home, he drove his truck into a group of people waiting outside the entrance. He injured multiple and took the life of one. He is now awaiting trial and could receive life in prison. A missing persons cold case from 1974 of 34-year-old Doris Wurst and her daughter 4-year-old Karen was recently closed after police received a call of a car located at the bottom of a canal. Inside were the remains of both Doris and Karen. One speculation as to how the two ended up in the bottom of the canal is from CBSNews.com. Quote, the mother and the girl's father were going through a custody battle at the time the mom and the girl went missing. A source said the mom took off with the 4-year-old girl and threatened to take her life and the life of her daughter if she couldn't have custody. Let me know your thoughts.
Oh yeah, if that mom did that while they're fighting for custody, she 100% did not deserve custody of that child. She literally said, if I can't have her, then no one can have her. That's super messed up, mostly as a parent. You're supposed to be protecting your kid, dude. Like, what are you doing, ma'am? What are you doing, ma'am?
Normal looking photos that have a disturbing backstory, part 11. The girl wearing the veil is Elizabeth Smart, who was kidnapped for 9 months by the man on the far right. This photo was taken at a party the kidnapper crashed with Elizabeth, and she was forced to wear this veil at all times to keep her from being recognized in public. While this photo may seem like a bunch of astronauts hanging out at the pool and having a great time, it's actually the crew of Apollo 1. They died inside the capsule on the left, unable to escape the fire. This is Chernobyl elephant's foot, a massive radiation from the reactor core meltdown. If you hang around it for too long, it becomes deadly, but not nearly as much as in 1986. It's so deadly that they had to use a set of mirrors to take this photograph. This photo was just taken after LBJ became president following the assassination of John F. Kennedy. In the front, you'll see Jackie Kennedy grieving her husband's death. LBJ turned toward his lifelong friend, Texas Congressman Albert Thomas, who gave him a wink and a smile.
A wink and a smile? On top of the fact that everyone already thinks the JFK assassination was planned by the CIA, that right there was a little bit more questionable.
For people trying to reduce their screen time, there just might be a solution for you. A trend has been going around where people have started using dumb phones. So basically, instead of carrying around your smartphone, people have now started using these things. So the way that it works is that these phones don't have any social media or apps, and you only have access to your contacts for minimal texting and calling. Companies such as Punked and Light Phones carry these, and they're sold starting at $300. And the entire purpose of this is to get people to stop scrolling on their phone for hours and hours. But what I find very interesting about this concept is that we as people do not have enough self-control to stop ourselves from scrolling for hours on these social media apps, that we have to go ahead and buy another phone so that we can control our addiction. I remember growing up, we had something very similar to this, but not on purpose. We just didn't have the technology that we have now. I literally had one of these as my first phone in grade 8, and I could only text and call, and I swear I had a limit of about 300 texts that I can send in 1 month. So when I went over that, the bill would be much higher and I would get in shit. These things did not have any apps or social media, so we didn't have the issues that we have now. So what do you guys think about this trend? Would you use it?
I mean, she is right. We really don't have enough self-control. And like, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, it's just put down the phones or whatever, but it's almost like a subconscious thing. Like I remember this one time I was getting some food, right? Like I was trying to go get some food, and I remember just looking at my phone, and then like I was like, all right, well, you know, I just don't have anything else. So I clicked on TikTok, and then I exited TikTok just to go right back on TikTok. I'm just like, why the hell am I back on TikTok? And I consciously tapped in that. How the hell did I get back on TikTok? Like it's literally an addiction. It's tragic.
Here are some 1 in a million coincidences. This lady's phone background is the exact same as the picture on this truck. What are the chances? And the picture on the back of this RV lines up perfectly with the mountains. Now I want to know, did these two guys plan this? Because it spells out Cookie Monster. That cannot be a coincidence. And these two people are wearing opposite colored clothes and opposite color hair. Now they're definitely a perfect match. Now this one's crazy. They're wearing the same jacket, same scarf, and even have the exact same blue hair.
I'm sorry, but what did scientists just create? And how is no one talking about this? Trust me, favorite this video because this is the craziest news of the century. Scientists in Beijing just cloned and brought back dragons. But you might be wondering what I mean by brought back. Well, as it turns out, in early to mid last year, in the mountains of Taimoshan, actual dragon remains were found. Personally, I've waited a long time for this. I am a Targaryen! Using the method of carbon dating, they were approximated to be 15,000 years old. Even the scales were still visible. Now, they quickly acquired the DNA from the dragon remains and proceeded to combine it with the DNA and RNA of lizards that are alive today, such as with the Komodo dragon, with the iguana, and with the bearded dragon. Finally created an actual species of dragon. Now, this was all leaked online by one of the researchers, coming out with emails between the researchers and the government, as well as picture proof. However, this is the part you're gonna go, what? In one of the emails, it was pointed out that one of the dragons that had been combined with a Komodo dragon had developed toxic venom. A venom which we have no cure for because, you know, we created the dragon! This is literally one of the most insane things I've ever spoken about on this channel. So send this to literally anyone you know to completely waste their time. Because I'm pretty sure all of these images are AI generated to fool us into thinking dragons existed. I'm really sorry.
No way we created dragons, dude. Just for a split second, until he told me they were AI generated, I was like, come on, dude.
Have you ever heard about the Samsung phones theory?
Never heard about it.
So you know how they always brag about their phone being better than an iPhone?
Yeah, they always say like their cameras are the best and...
Yeah, exactly. They say you can literally point your camera at the moon and the image will surpass a telescope's view. They really do market it as being able to zoom into the moon. So I watched a video by Shane Dawson and saw this clip. Did you see how the guy zooms into the moon?
Oh my god.
It looks really sharp, right?
Wow.
Pretty good, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah. Samsung recently admitted that they actually enhance moon photos on Samsung phones using AI, and a guy made a video demonstrating how Samsung does this. It's crazy how he pulls it off. So he took a plain white circle and placed it across his house. Then he zoomed in fully to fool the phone into thinking it was the moon. The camera then swapped that white circle for an image of the moon.
Wow. So it started as just a white circle and then transformed into the moon.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Was this Reddit user actually abducted by aliens? Reddit user Seeker469 said that as a kid, he was spending the night at his aunt and uncle's house, which was out in the sticks in Tennessee. He was sleeping on the couch and woke up due to a bright light coming through the kitchen window into the living room. He was facing the light, which was white and slightly flickering, for about 10 minutes. Then he turned his head as it was keeping him awake. A few more minutes passed and he turned his head back towards the light and was about to to go to sleep when he saw a tall, dark figure standing in front of him. He was frozen and could not move or scream. It approached him, reached out, and began tapping on his forehead with what felt like a nail or something pointed. He said that this went on for another few minutes until he must have fallen or was put to sleep. He woke up the next morning to a quiet house. He went to the bathroom and he had a red spot on his forehead. The skin was slightly broken, but there was no blood.
As of right now, this is definitely in my top 10, absolutely top 5. It is easily one of the most uniquely effective horror movies. This movie is about a woman named Ella who is a stop-motion animator working with her mother. And when the mother becomes hospitalized, it is up to Ella to finish her mother's vision, which Ella doesn't really want to do. And with the help of this random little girl from down the hallway, Ella tries to create a film like no other. However, when the world of reality and the world of stop motion start to really bleed together, it's gonna make you wonder for the entire runtime of the movie, what is real? Now, in my opinion, I absolutely loved this movie. I don't know if the director is a genius or accidentally one, because everything in this movie just somehow works, and it works without answering all of your questions. It is a very dreamlike and ethereal type movie, so from the start, you're kind of questioning about everything, which some people are gonna love and some people are really not gonna like. And it goes without saying, the stop motion animation in this is perfectly creepy. If you've seen any of the previous works of the director, take the weirdness and tone of that and put it into a movie. Now, as far as like what type of scares to be prepared for in this movie, it's a good mix of a lot of different things. A handful of jump scares here and there, but what it's really effective is when the purpose of the movie is just to solely creep you out. But a warning to the squeamish, there are a couple of body horror scenes that can be kind of rough. They're extraordinarily well done. Just keep that in mind towards the end. Now, stop motion has a very limited run in theaters. Hopefully there's more showings in the future. But the good news is stop motion will be streaming on Shudder on May 31st. If you've seen this movie, what do you guys think?
Right, here we go again. A time traveler from the year 2671 has warned us about these dates in 2024. So make sure to favorite this video so we can keep track of these dates and see if they were right. Let's hope they aren't. Let's start with January 23rd, 2024. A message is sent from an underground civilization known as the Splitting World. Essentially, we go under the Earth's crust to discover a whole new world. With a new kind of human, but of course, they want war. For fuck's sake! March 7th, 2024. A mirrored Earth is found inside our solar system and is the exact opposite to Earth. Essentially, yes, it is habitable, but the gravity and physics are completely different. And on top of that, plants are red and the water's purple. What? Didn't think it could get weirder? You'd be wrong. Let's talk about April 15th, where SpaceX finds out how to make a spaceship travel the speed of light. However, like everything, this comes with its problems. Because apparently this is when we begin to meet alien life forms, who of course want to steal the light speed engine from us. Finally, we have June 29th, 10 days after my birthday. Mark your calendars. Where 197 mysterious statues appear around the world. One in every single country. Apparently, we eventually find out that the statues were placed here to track and scare humanity. Mission succeeded. And they release many terrible things. Now, I did my research. I have no idea what terrible things means. Could you be more cryptic? There are literally so many more, so I think I'm going to do a part 2 tomorrow. And do you think any of these will come true? Elon!
I'm not gonna lie, I think one or two of those were actually kind of accurate. Actually, just one. The one where they say the mirrored Earth, that I'm pretty sure I don't know, this did not come out in 2024, but in 2023 they were saying that there was an Earth where time runs backwards. It's like a parallel universe or something. Like, I don't even know, bro. Like, there's so much news nowadays that it's just like you don't know which one is real from what is fake, bro. Because people just say anything. That guy tricked us about the dragon. I don't even believe anything he says anymore.
Shit's girl found a secret safe under her floor, but you seriously won't believe what they found inside. One day, Joe and his daughter Rebecca were cleaning out her closet when they discovered a secret safe under the tile. They tried guessing the combination hundreds of times, but they couldn't get it open. Joe even posted on social media asking if anyone knew how to open the safe. And that's when when a licensed locksmith saw the serial number and got the combination from the manufacturer, but you won't believe what they found inside. The safe was filled with water, so he grabbed some gloves and pulled out a solid gold coin, and it turns out it's actually worth $180.
These are some of the strangest graves in the world. In a small village located deep into the Philippines, there's a tribe that has a specific ritual. Every member that passes away is placed in a coffin and then nailed against the side of a mountain. The idea is their souls will be closer to God in the afterlife. And there's thousands of these coffins. And George Thomas was decapitated almost 200 years ago from an accident. And at his gravesite, a statue of him actually holds his head up. It's facing towards him so he can watch over his soul.
The world's scariest unsolved mysteries. This photo shows all the world's mysteries from the most well-known to the darkest of the dark. In this series we're going to be going through each category until we reach tier 10, which will apparently ruin my life and change the way we all see the world. So I'm pretty terrified. If you haven't, go watch the previous 3 parts now. If you have, stick around. Make sure to hit that follow button because stuff is going to get crazy. Today we're going to be looking at the Russian microwaves. Now this sounds really boring and weird, but it is so messed up. Basically, the Russian government started putting up these discs which look like satellites. They don't look like they cause any harm, but they eventually admitted they were using microwave technology and radiation, almost as some kind of weapon. But why? Well, these were actually planted near an American embassy, where lots of CIA operatives were and spies. And a lot of these people got extremely ill and had to leave their jobs because of this radiation. Now, the theory is the Russian government were doing this on purpose, to get these spies out of the country. What do you think? Why else would they be using microwave weapons?
Another cold case has been solved thanks to advanced DNA testing. Julianne Julie Williams and Laura Lolly Winans were both 24 years old when they went on a camping trip in Shenandoah National Park in Virginia in May 1996. The two had met through a group that organized outdoor adventures, so they were so excited to be going on this trip. They left on May 19th with plans to return on the 28th, and when they did not make it home, their family called the National Park Service to report them missing. Unfortunately, after an extensive search on June 1st, Julie and Lolly were found murdered at their campsite just off the Appalachian Trail. They had been bound and gagged, and their throats had been slit, but their case quickly went cold and remained that way for the past 28 years. In 2021, the FBI assigned a new team in Richmond to review the case. The team began retesting evidence and submitted it to a private lab, which was able to pull DNA from several pieces of evidence. And last week, it was announced that the FBI had identified the man responsible for killing Julie and Lolly. The DNA retrieved from the evidence was entered into CODIS, and it came back as a match to convicted serial rapist Walter Leo Jackson Sr. Jackson had a lengthy criminal history, including kidnapping and sexual assault, and he was also known to visit the Shenandoah National Park. He was most recently sent to prison on multiple charges in 2011, and he ended up dying in prison in March 2018. So unfortunately, he will not have to face justice for what he did to Julie and Lolly. But at least now their families have answers. The FBI has also said that they are continuing to investigate if Jackson can be connected to any other unsolved crimes and are asking for anybody with any information about him to come forward. Both Julie and Lolly loved spending time outdoors and were so excited for their camping trip when their lives were so senselessly taken. Rest in peace, Julie and Lolly.
Want to hear a truly eerie case? This is the bizarre disappearance of Brandon Swanson. On May 13th, 2008, Brandon Swanson had just completed his first year at a local technical college where he lived in Marshall, Minnesota. That evening, he and some friends celebrated at a home nearby in Canby. According to friends at the party, Brandon seemed fine when he left the party just after midnight. Brandon was going to make the 30-minute drive back to his parents' home in Marshall. Almost an hour later at 1:15 a.m., Brandon got his car stuck in a ditch. He first called friends for assistance, but they didn't answer, so he called his parents and told them that he was stuck. When asked, he said he wasn't injured, and Brian and Annette, his parents, drove and reached their son's mentioned location to try and find him. But strangely, when they get there, they don't find Brandon nor the car. They get back on the phone with Brandon and begin flashing their headlights. Brandon said he could see a light in the distance and said he would walk towards it. Staying on the phone with his dad during his journey, Brandon told him that he passed some fences and could overhear water flowing in the distance. Shortly after 2:30 a.m., 47 minutes into their phone call, Brandon suddenly shouted, "Oh shit," and then silence. His parents hung up and tried to call back again and again, but there was no answer. His parents continue driving around searching for their son or the car, but can't find anything. The next day, police start their search, and to add to the mystery, investigators looked at Brandon's cell phone records, and it indicated that Brandon was actually 25 miles from where he said he was, in a town called Porter. This led to the discovery of his car in a ditch nearby. In the following months, police and volunteers combed the area on foot, horseback, and all-terrain vehicles. But to this day, Brandon has never been found. Brandon's state of mind has been called into question, but both friends at the party and Brandon's parents said that he seemed fine. Mysterious. Overall, a really sad case for Brandon's family. What are your thoughts?
I was born on the 13th.
Is this a coincidence? I think not, but you tell me.
I turned 13 on Friday the 13th. My first album went gold in the US in 13 weeks. Every time I've won an award at an award show, I've been seated in row M, which is the 13th letter, or like the 13th seat, or the 13th row, or the 13th section. It's really a good number.
Wait, hold on, there's more.
You guys know what Super Bowl this is? It's 58. You know what 5 plus 8 is? 13. It's Taylor Swift's album called 13. Yo! Dang! You guys know the date of the Super Bowl? It's the 11th. Of? February. 11 plus 2. Yeah. Yo! Who are they playing? The 49ers. It's 4 plus 9. Dude, come on. 13. Just saying. What seed are the 49ers? The 1 seed. What seed are the Chiefs? The 2 seed. No, the 3. 1 and 3. 13. This dude is so stupid. Where's Taylor Swift coming from? She's coming from Tokyo to the Super Bowl. What does that mean? A flight from Tokyo to Las Vegas. 13 hours. 13 hours. And I'm not even kidding. What the You know how many games Taylor Swift has been to? 13. 12. This is the 13? The Super Bowl will be the 13. Is this all true?
Yeah, no, this is all for real. Brock Purdy's jersey number is 13, so that's 8. The funny thing is, in numerology, 13 actually symbolizes good luck. If you made it this far, there's absolutely no way you watched all of that and thought to yourself, that's just a coincidence. Hell no. But what are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comments.
If that's a coincidence, that's too heavy of a coincidence. Like, why is 13th like such a Taylor Swift number, bro? I really want to know like the science behind that, because I'm genuinely curious to why she's like, everything for me is on the 13th, and all of this with the Super Bowl that she's going to is on the everything is 13th. It's kind of suspicious if I'm being honest. But anyways, if you guys like the video, please like the video. If you guys like the channel, remember to check the link down in the description. Try to get me to 1,000 likes this video. I love y'all. I'm working on the stream. I'm pretty much 90% complete. I just got 10% more to go. We'll be up soon, baby. Trust the process. Love y'all, boys.